Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Man, I go away for a couple days and we lose 2 chairs. What happened?
People go down like flies.
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Look who's back, everybody. This guy.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm well rested. Had a blast.
Yeah.
Had to watch the Browns game on a cruise ship just north of the South American coast.
I'm surprised you even got the game.
I was too. When I got on the ship, the first thing I asked is, will the Monday night game be on? Yes, it will. They carry ESPN on the ship. So I was able to watch the game. I lost my voice cheering for the Browns. It was funny because there were so many Browns fans on this cruise, I can't begin to explain it.
Wow.
There were also a lot of Bengals fans. So the sports bar that we were watching, which was right next to the casino, had 2 TVs going. All the Browns fans were on one side, all the Bengals fans were on the other. And when I got there, the first thing I said was, if this doesn't go well, I'm out early. Because I can't watch with other teams' fans around me.
How much longer were you on the boat together after that? Because then if anybody did anything wrong during the game, you know you guys see each other for another week at the buffet.
You carried it for a week.
At the buffet. Like you're seeing a magician together.
That's
you're just
so
mad
true.
at each other.
Everybody's in a good mood on a cruise, though.
I will say, it was a little different because of that.
Yeah.
Everybody was so good. I also watched a lot of the World Series games. Same thing there. What was really fascinating was Thursday night, you had Philly fans on one side of the sports bar, Houston fans on the other, and they're watching their football teams and their baseball teams go at it at the same time.
Yeah.
It was absolutely a study in fandom and the ebbs and flows. And by the way, it's good for me to see. I watched Philly lose the World Series. As I watched their fan base really die in their own vomit. I just looked at them and I go, wow, someone cares as much as we do.
Yeah.
Because those fans, and I've always known it, but I learned it again, those fans took it hard.
When it's happening to you, you think you're the only one in the world who can ever feel like this. And then sure enough, you watch another, and you're like, I know the deadness in those eyes. I felt that.
I've seen that.
I know exactly what that is.
They're so loud and brash. After the solo home run that made it 1-0 in Game 6, there literally was a Flyers fan, a woman, all Flyers gear, stood up, faced the other end of the sports bar and said, F you, F you, F you. And after they pulled Wheeler, which I still don't understand why, and you had the 3-run homer.
Yeah.
The Astros fans are so passive. I thought for sure they'd come running over to her and let her have it. Not a word.
No.
Just cheered in their own fandom and didn't even bother dealing with the Philly fans.
I don't think Astros fans can open their mouths ever again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like,
you're right. Yeah, there's always going to be that asterisk. This one was clean.
Yeah.
And
we
for
think.
that,
as far as we know, we'll
as far
find
as
out.
we know.
Yeah.
By the way, what's happened to Jose Altuve?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
He's a ghost.
Yeah.
He was a ghost.
He got
and they
old
still won it.
fast.
No Brantley, no Altuve, and they still.
I really liked the
best team in
Astros
baseball.
before the whole cheating thing, too. Like, that was a team, they did it the right way.
I
They
did, too.
tanked, But
Yeah.
they built from within. They drafted well. They developed well. They did everything right.
Yeah.
And then everything hit the fan.
A brief story, right as I was leaving ESPN, I interviewed for the Astros play-by-play job. And probably would have taken it had it not been for this line from Reed Ryan, who's Nolan's kid, who at the time was the GM, said, just so you know, we know you're a Cleveland fan. This would never be a stepping stone to Cleveland. Our last play-by-play guy was here 40 years. We want our next play-by-play guy to be here 40 years. I thought, well, at the time I was like 52. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be here 40 years.
Right.
But they were pretty clear on what they were doing and where they wanted to go. But I learned a lot about the organization. Heavy analytics.
Yes.
And I was pretty forthright with my opinion on analytics.
Yeah.
I said I think it has a place. I don't think it should drive the bus. And
I have a butterfly effect question.
Sure.
If you would have taken that gig, you would have had that gig, Do you think you would have noticed the garbage can thing? And do you think you would have accepted it, or do you think you would have tipped off, even though it was your team you were covering, do you think you would have tipped off the commissioner?
I wouldn't have noticed it.
You wouldn't have noticed it?
No, because everybody now says, how did everybody miss it? Well, everybody did. That's the fact of the matter. Everybody missed it.
Yeah, but you're there every day. You know baseball. You hear it.
I'm not that observant, Mike. You're giving me way too much credit. You probably would.
You're right.
Because you're an observationist. You notice any deviation from the norm.
Right.
When stuff like that comes out, and then you look at it and say, oh, my God, how did we miss it? I don't catch that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, well.
And, congratulations to them. Bull is on remote. Bull is under the weather today. He's feeling sick, so he's going to join us from his home. Bull, you there from the Bull Cave? From the bullpen?
I am.
Bullpen's
You got me?
Better.
There you are, brother. Are you feeling better?
I am feeling a lot better today,
Good.
but I'm still contagious, so I'm going to stay home for now. But, Jay, I got to respond to a few things you said. First of all,
Sure.
Number one, coincidentally, you just mentioned Nolan Ryan's son.
Yes.
I just happened to, yesterday, because I wasn't feeling well and I wasn't doing anything, watch the Nolan Ryan documentary on Netflix. Did you see it?
I have not seen it, but I want to.
I started it, but haven't finished
I imagine it's absolutely fantastic.
Phenomenal. There were things I did not know.
Right.
You guys, Jason, well, all you guys, you love baseball, so it's a must-watch, and his son, I think, was the executive producer of it. So it's really, really good. And he has, you got Randy Johnson, and you got all these, although Robin Ventura refused to be interviewed for it.
Oh, get over it already.
What a child.
You believe
coward.
that?
What a coward.
At this point, embrace it. You've been on the butt end of that joke for 30 years.
And how old is he now?
He's got to be 50.
grow
60.
up, man.
Yeah, you got your ass beat.
You make yourself look so much worse
Ridiculous.
by not.
Yeah.
Like you look so much better if you would just talk about it.
That's weak. Very weak.
Number two. That woman on the boat from Philly, that's my kind of woman, because I would do something
you would have
similar.
loved her, Bull.
And number three, I think it's funny, the whole time Jay was away, we were, we have 8, Steve Becker, our executive producer, has created about 42 different text chains.
We were just talking about that before the show.
Right. And Jay especially is in all of them. I'm in all of them. Mike's in all of them.
I'm only in a fraction of them.
Yeah, you're in most, but not all. Same thing with Mike Polk. But me, G, Steve, Mike Lucas, probably Anthony, and Jay are in all of these different ones.
Yeah.
So Jay must have gotten 1,000 texts when we were away, right? So 1,000.
At least.
He didn't respond to any of them until he got back, except for the only thing he texted. He didn't talk about the Browns winning in incredible fashion. He didn't talk about the World Series, nothing. The only text we got from Jay the entire time was he away was, Myles Straw, winning the Gold Glove.
Bull, I thought of you the second I read it. I thought, from the early in the season when he was killing
Steve,
Myles
by the
Straw.
way, firing off.
There's Steve in his
At least
kitchen firing off the text.
He has no idea.
Oh, that's fantastic. He's angry. I read his lips.
Yep.
He didn't say what the fair.
What the fuck?
No.
He said, what fun.
Bull, so let me explain that. So I had early on been saying that Myles Straw is an exceptional defensive
elite. We
player.
both said
I
he's
said
elite.
elite.
Yes.
Well, he's okay. All the center fielders are good.
No, wait a second. I didn't say he was average. I said he was really good. But
you
I
said there's a lot of really good center fielders.
Yes, that's what I said.
And I kept saying, I think he's a Gold Glove center fielder. I think he's the best center fielder.
And you were right.
And so the reason I didn't reply, there's a couple reasons.
I thought we'd get a text when Baker scored 2 touchdowns.
Didn't even see that.
All right.
I didn't even see
Just
it.
check.
All garbage time, but he did.
When you're at sea, the whole idea is to be away.
To get unplugged.
And so I did. But occasionally, when I was in port in certain cities, I would get internet. And as soon as I got it, I would try to read what I could. But I'm like,
Your phone just goes.
I'm days behind in the text chain. I have no idea where I am. But I did feel like when I saw Straw won the Gold Glove, I'm like, I got to send that out there. I have to. And I sent 2 texts in reality. I sent one text, I think, yesterday when I heard that you were missing because you were sick. I said, feel well.
Right.
Be well.
Yes, you did. Thank you. But when did you get back? Yesterday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Back in town.
We got back Sunday, and we ported in Miami Sunday morning, and we flew home Sunday evening. So
real quick on the Straw thing, since we brought it up.
Yeah.
I wrote in The Athletic last week, the week before, that Straw established himself as a core piece everyday player. And people went crazy. And
Against it?
Yes. saying, how can you say that? Just move Quan over and put another bat in left. I'm like, guys, he just won a freaking Gold Glove.
Yeah.
That matters.
Like, why would you mess with that now?
I'm
like,
with
you
you.
have 2 Gold Glove outfielders out there.
By the way, I'm sure you guys looked it up. I can't remember the last time a team won 4 Gold Gloves.
I don't
Can
either.
Anybody?
Yeah, I remember it was in the. I forget who it was, but it's been a long time. It was in the paper because
Maybe the Reds were pretty good defensively. I don't know if
I'm sure it was in the release. I can find it.
Yeah, I was.
My memory says it was 2006, and I don't remember the team.
Okay.
But it's the
06.
first time the
Is this
Indians,
helpful, everyone?
Yeah.
or the Guardians,
That's
excuse
way
me,
off track.
were in there, yeah.
Bull, great to see you again. Bull's
Yes.
coming from home. G. Bush today under the weather. So UCSS, our playing hurt list is very long today.
It is, but it's
by the way,
a
Jay-
stand-up mentality.
What's that?
By the
Bull?
way, the 2003 Mariners were the last team to win 4
Oh,
Gold Gloves.
okay.
Thank you. Bull.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
That's rare, man. You just don't see that.
I got a text from Mike at like 9:15 saying, "Can you come in?" And I was like, "Well, I'm in my pajamas because I just did 4 hours of radio and wasn't planning on doing this." And I was gonna try and like race home and change and hurry up and come back.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I'll be peeling in here at 11:03.
Well, it's good to have you in.
We got to force you into the coal mine, Jason. Let's talk about basketball and football.
Yeah, I know. We're twist our arms. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about that Cavs game last night. Wow. They're going to lose, of course.
Right.
The way they lost was a little concerning.
Not ideal.
And not ideal at all. We're also going to have our Major League movie review today, like 30 years after its release.
I can't wait to
listen,
find out.
we have been asked since that day to do this multiple times, and we were waiting for you to get back, Jay. We didn't want to do it.
I'm glad you waited because I'm anxious to see what you thought of the film. Did it live up? Is it just great for Clevelanders? And
12:15. We're gonna get into that.
Mike had the
12:15.
audacity when I got here to ask, "Have you seen Major League?" I'm like, "Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
no.
I saw it 30 years ago
Yeah.
when it came out."
A
and I've seen
reminder
it
why
30
we're doing
times
this in
since.
case anybody hasn't been paying attention to this, because he had not seen Major League somehow, despite
McNuggets had not
being
seen it.
a grown man who does a sports show in Cleveland
Yeah.
for quite some time now. Had
I'm
not
surprised
gotten
he
around to
got the
watching
job without
like
having
an
seen it.
hour and 25-minute movie that everyone in the world has seen and has been on cable on a constant loop for the last 35 years, and he's been able to avoid it somehow.
You can't turn on TBS on a weekend and not see
It's
it.
playing right now.
Somewhere.
Probably.
Absolutely. So we're gonna talk about that. Also, Jenn Matthews is here. She's gonna do our Browns Dolphins trivia. Of course, they play the
Nice.
Dolphins this week, so she always shows up and gives us trivia questions about the Browns' upcoming opponent. And I mentioned we're going to talk about the Cavs. We'll get into that too. But we have to start with the Browns, who looked great in their win over Cincinnati. They're 3-5 now, but suddenly 3-5 feels kind of odd when you look at what the Ravens all of a sudden are doing and where they are. And boy, did they upgrade themselves with the trade of all trades at the deadline. He was a monster last night. That they talked about it during the telecast. The 2 positions that you can make the most impact right away, linebacker and running back, and we've seen that both with McCaffrey in San Francisco. And last night, my goodness, he's an animal. But the Ravens now are starting to feel like they're putting some real
away.
distance
They're pulling away
between everybody else. And I don't know that at 3-5 you can start looking at wild cards in the AFC.
The Miami game is actually really important in terms of that because they've lost so many AFC games.
Yeah,
they're not going to have tiebreakers.
You're exactly right. You cannot lose AFC games at this point.
So just even winning the Miami game could be huge in terms of tiebreakers down the stretch.
I think that we all think that's a winnable game. I mean, we'll make our picks as we get on. But
now you're on that boat watching this Browns game, and you said there were a bunch of other Browns fans on there, none of whom you knew before. It just happened to be.
I knew none of them prior to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so this is how they felt the move.
And by the way, I was stunned at how many people commented on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on the ship. Now, granted, they're all Browns fans in that area, but that's the community that we've made the biggest inroads with.
The
obviously,
boat folk.
Browns fans.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
Browns fans.
so that was kind of cool to see that we've resonated the Browns fan psyche.
You could feel it though in the group where at the beginning of that game, like you knew that if we lost that game, then like pretty much the vibe of the season.
It was
dead.
the season. Everybody pretty much agreed we've got to win to stay alive.
So what was it like the vibe where you were at afterwards? Was it just like, well,
drinks were flowing?
Right?
Drinks were flowing.
Isn't that
in
something?
typical Cleveland sports fan fashion?
You start doing math.
You always get pulled back in just when you jump off. And then it's like, whoa, more pain to dispense. Come back on. and we're going to slap you around a little bit.
Yep.
Then you can jump off. Then you can, we'll pull you back in.
Such a toxic
and then, boom.
relationship.
It really is.
It really is a toxic relationship. But it was crazy to me was the fan base was cheering just as hard as if we were 8-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
We are
I'm
sweet
telling
idiots.
you, there's just a different thread that Cleveland sports fans have going through them that other teams' fans just don't seem to have. But that's a part of it, that love-hate relationship. But now everything looks good. So now you start looking ahead. You're like, okay, well, Miami's doable. And then you look at Tampa Bay. Well, Tom Brady, with the exception of that last drive on Sunday, has not been Tom Brady. So you start looking at these games
Then all of
and
a
you
sudden
start racking up wins.
You convince yourself, you're like, Buffalo's due for a fall.
Well, Josh
Josh
Allen's
Allen.
hurt now.
Josh
There you
Allen.
go. So,
Banged up.
we can find ways to rationalize our way into the playoffs easily.
That's what we do. So today we're going to focus on the offense of the Browns against the Miami defense, and some pertinent numbers for you here. Miami's defense in yards allowed per game, 23rd. Passing defense, yards allowed, 23rd. Rushing defense, 15th. Points, 25th. The Browns offense, it's crazy to me how well they've performed compared to everybody else in the league.
Yeah, you think we'd be better?
They're fourth, I know. They're
how
fourth
good
in
it
total
is.
yards. They're 7th in total points. They're 16th in passing yards and 3rd in rushing yards. When you look at these numbers and you realize that Miami's defense is down here and the Browns offense is up here, how do we go after this Miami defense, which has been really, really, really bad against the pass?
Well, I want to keep the ball out of Tua's hands and out of Tyreek Hill's hands. So I'm going to agree with run Nick Chubb. I know we've had that argument over and over and over.
Sure.
Is Nick Chubb getting the ball enough? Yeah, I think you really need to try and establish the run in this game just because Miami can score so many points in such a hurry. We saw that in the Atlanta game when they go for it on 4th and 3 from the 4 because they felt like Atlanta could score points and they needed 6 instead of 3s.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot of that again this Sunday because this team can score in bunches. You're going to see them trying to be aggressive, score 6s instead of 3s. I just think you need to establish the run because, it's a no-duh, but just because of Miami's potent offense, you want them to have the ball as least amount as possible.
It's a no-duh. I love that one.
It is a no-duh.
It's a no-duh.
Adam, what's the secret?
Well, couple things, guys. Before I get to specifics of this game and why my optimism, I want to tell you why my optimism has grown. Because think about this, right? We know the Browns have played well against the Bengals. So it's easy for somebody to say, well, they played great against the Bengals, but so what? They did last year and they sucked anyway. And there was part of me thinking that after the game. But then and I know Carolina's not good. I get it. But the Browns' defense had been just as bad as Carolina's defense going into the last couple of weeks. And yet the Bengals this weekend went out there and played maybe the best first half of football that any team has played all season, up 35-0 on Carolina at halftime. So here I'm thinking the Browns shut down a team, an offense, that for the last 5 weeks before they played them was phenomenal. They lose Chase, so you think maybe, okay, that's a big factor, which it is. But without Chase, they scored 35 on Carolina in the first half. A Carolina team, frankly, that had been playing decent football the last couple of weeks with P.J. Walker. So that, to me, the way the Bengals played against Carolina made what the Browns did to the Bengals even more impressive and has grown my confidence. And here's the second reason specific to what you guys said in terms of the Browns' defense against the Dolphins' offense. The Bengals struggled to run the ball all year until yesterday against Carolina. Well, what are and they graded throwing the ball. Well, the Dolphins are the exact same thing. The Dolphins are 6-0 when Tua starts and finishes a game. They've won not because their defense has been great in most of these games. It's been okay. Not because they can run the ball, because they throw the ball. And if you're one-dimensional against the Browns, that can be a problem. It was for the Bengals last week, and it might be for the Dolphins again this week. In fact, the Dolphins are even less committed to the run than the Bengals are. They're averaging under 4 yards per carry. Unlike the Bengals, they don't have a really good back like Joe Mixon. Now, they got Jeff Wilson, who did okay this week from the Niners, but they don't have a really good backfield. And I think the Browns appear to be a defense that when you go one-dimensional pass only, it works for them. And so that could be the advantage that the Browns could take in this game, because the Dolphins really have had an inability to run the football.
It's a good point, and it's just a real head-scratcher to me the Bengals against the Browns, for whatever reason, this is carried over now. This is the third straight season we've seen it. They just look like a completely different team. And I don't know if it's something Joe Woods is throwing at them. They didn't seem to, defensively, just what they were putting out there was working. They certainly got pressure on the quarterback, which always helps. One stat that's a little concerning to me, I mentioned Miami's rushing allowed yards. They're 15th, middle of the road, nothing great. But most of the rushing yards against the Dolphins defense has actually been put on the board by the opposing quarterbacks. They're holding running backs to 55 yards a game, opposing running backs. And that scares me a little bit.
And that was pre-Chubb, right?
Well, Miami.
Yeah.
Miami is. So, we'll see what Chubb can do against them. But, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. But the fact that they're only averaging 55 yards allowed on the ground is a little concerning to me because, talk about one-dimensional, if you're the Browns and the run game is not working at all, you're in big trouble.
And you're counting on that Jacoby Brissett cannon to carry you through the game?
Yeah, don't have high hopes for that.
No, you're right. That would be ugly. And I'm concerned about a little bit, I feel like understandably so, about the secondary. Still dinged up a little bit and going against these guys. Putting a lot of pressure on what's his face, Emerson, is that his name?
Yeah,
Emerson.
For being a rookie and just relying on him to have to cover this, and Greedy Williams, which that's not a great situation.
He's still on the team, huh?
Yeah, he still is. He's lingering about. So that's one of my big concerns.
Hopeful. There you see the tweet from Zach yesterday that Denzel will be cleared in time to play. Obviously, they could use Denzel Ward. He hasn't had a great year, but they could use Denzel Ward against Tyreek Hill and these Miami receivers.
That's what scares me. Hill's the matchup. Obviously every team struggles.
Yeah.
But if Ward isn't there to match up,
he's the cheat code. I don't know how you cover Tyreek.
You don't. Your hope is that you can put a lid on him and don't let him get behind defenses, but that's really difficult to say. And
you bracket the coverage toward Tyreek and play man on everyone else, and
I don't
hope
want
for the best.
I don't want to curse the kid, but shout out to that Martin Emerson dude so far this year. He is. We talk a lot about like Anthony Schwartz and some of the misses and stuff in the draft. That's a dude they got in the third round.
Yeah,
they nailed it.
And he
was considered a reach at that point. No one, didn't go to a big school.
I don't know if it'll keep going in this direction, but so far, he looks very comfortable out there.
He does. He looks like he belongs. Yeah. I like the fact that he's bigger and longer. When you have the same body type in your defensive backfield, and then you get a receiver that is a big, long receiver,
right?
You have no answers to put on someone like that. Well, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons they were so attracted to him. But he's played great so far. Hopefully, he can continue. I think Denzel is the linchpin in this game. I think if he plays and plays well, the Browns win. I think if he doesn't play, it's going to be a serious uphill climb. And I think I saw this morning that Njoku has been upgraded to questionable.
Yeah, still no word. I think there's a chance he plays.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You would think it's getting better. Originally, he had ruled out playing the week after the injury,
right?
Which was kind of surprising to me. And he's had the bye week. He's had another couple extra weeks here to heal up.
Would they tell us if he was on path, or does Stefanski hide his hand often when he's doing this stuff?
What's your
I think Njoku they'll probably take right up to a game time decision.
Why tell him?
I would imagine.
Yeah, if you don't,
and it may truly be. Some guys really are let's get to Sunday, go through workouts, see how you feel on the field, and we'll make a decision based off that.
McNuggets.
Yeah, tease for tomorrow. Coach Tyvis is going to break out the whiteboard and show us what the Browns defense should do or should try to do against Tyreek and Jalen Waddle because they've been absurd this year. We showed the stat yesterday. If you pull up the receiving stat about Tyreek, he has more yards by himself. You can take tag board full here. More yards than 7, 8, 9 teams in the NFL by himself, which is just silly.
That's insane.
And the Browns
that's
play
incredible.
a ton of zone, and Tyvis showed me the play he wants to break down tomorrow and how what's they're looking for, how playing zone like that could just lead to dink and dunk, death by paper cut if the Dolphins play it. So just tomorrow around 11:45ish, Coach Tyvis, must-see TV.
What is the single-season record for receiving yards? Did Randy Moss have that?
Calvin Johnson
Cooper
at 2,000. Cooper
Didn't
Kupp last
Cooper
year.
Kupp break it last year?
No, I think Calvin Johnson did. I'll look it up. Bo, you said you had a comment on the running backs. I'll look up the record.
Yeah,
Look it up because I thought Cooper Kupp broke it. Maybe he fell just short last year. But, Jay, to your point on what the Dolphins have done against the running backs, if you think about it, I mean, Baltimore and Chicago, two teams they faced, they're led by their running quarterbacks, right? But they played against Buffalo and Cincinnati, who don't run the ball or haven't. Pittsburgh hasn't run on anybody. But if you look at when they faced the Jets, Breece Hall had a good game against them. Dalvin Cook had a good game against them in Minnesota. With Detroit, DeAndre Swift had just come back from injury. He didn't play that much in that game. So in those, they haven't faced a lot of top running backs. The two top running backs they faced both played well, Cook and Breece Hall before he got hurt, obviously.
And I imagine Josh Allen was the leading rusher for the Bills when they played
Josh Allen
Miami.
was the leading rusher.
Yeah.
He had you go right to the next one, Steve. Cut right to the next one. He had one more. He had 48 yards, and Zach Moss had 46. The single-season record, by the way.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson, 1,964 yards. Cooper Kupp was 18 yards short of that last year.
Yeah, I knew it was close.
Tyreek Hill's on pace to crack 2,000.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to demolish that record this year if he stays healthy and stays on that pace.
Like, records are going to be getting kind of weird with the
the 17 games.
And they only have those two guys because I think Mike Gesicki, I believe, is the Dolphins' third leading receiver with like 200 yards. So it's the two guys. He goes to them all the time because they're great, both of them, him and Watt.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? They get open, and that.
So all we got to do is lock down Tyreek Hill, and we'll be fine, guys.
That's it.
There you go. Get him, Greedy Williams.
Good luck with that.
We're fine.
Good. It's incredible watching Hill how much he's open. Even there are times when he doesn't get the ball and he could get these open.
Yeah.
It's just they decided to go somewhere else.
How did Tua suddenly turn the corner this year?
Tyreek Hill?
That's why. That's really what it is.
I've never been sold on Tua as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
His release is wonky.
Yeah.
I just don't think his decision making is there. I've never been sold on him. It goes to show you what a game breaking wide receiver who is constantly open can do.
And he's
for
catching
an otherwise average or below average quarterback. Tua's been below average.
Right.
His
That's what I'm
career
saying.
was in the balance.
This
coming
came out
into
of
this
nowhere.
season.
We
That's
actually,
it.
I asked Aditi that yesterday. We had Aditi on, and we were talking about. I said, are the Dolphins finally sold on Tua now? And she said Mike McDaniel is sold on Tua and has been from day one.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. Is listen, he knows he's been jerked around a little bit. Is he or isn't he? And Mike McDaniel from day one has told him, "You are our guy. Don't worry about that. Don't look over your shoulder. Go out there and play." I think he's been put in positions to be successful. I think he has confidence now. He has the backing of the organization now. And having Tyreek Hill out there to throw to certainly helps as well.
I mean, you give
The
any
confidence
quarterback
guys-
Tyreek Hill, and they're going to be better. Go ahead, Bull.
The confidence from the coach, I think Jason brings up a great point. You're right. I mean, I was with you, Jay. I'm not a believer in Tua. I still think he's got to prove it longer. But it is fair to say that Brian Flores was screwing with him last year. I mean, he was like worried about getting benched every time he threw a bad pass, and nobody's going to have success that way. I think that's clearly something that's big. The coach right off the bat believe in him. Plus, now it's a couple of years off those serious injuries that he had. So I think that probably factors in as well. I don't think anybody thinks he's a great quarterback, but he's playing great football. So give him credit.
How many times over the years have we heard the Dolphins have 2 number 1 picks and they're looking at quarterbacks and they're trying to figure out if Tua is the end? I mean, Adam Schefter was reporting that seemingly every year. Is the whole do the Dolphins stick with Tua? Do they move on from him?
Right.
And at some point, that wears on guys for sure.
Yeah, you hear it enough, it does become the drowning, the overwhelming noise in the room. And I think that. Look, if you put Tyreek Hill on any team in the NFL, their offensive production is going to go up. Their quarterback is going to look better. He also has, I think this is important to state, is that he has a great second option. With Waddle, the production between the two of them.
Right.
Mike, you showed that Hill has more yards than 9 teams by himself.
Pull it back up. We read this
if you
yesterday.
added
We'll do it
Waddle
again.
to the mix, they probably have more receiving yards than half the league's teams.
So right now, if the season ended today, Tyreek Hill is first in the NFL in receiving yards. He has nearly 250 more receiving yards than Justin Jefferson, who's in second. Jalen Waddle's in 5th in the league. He's 1 yard behind Cooper Kupp for 4th, and he's only 43 yards behind Justin Jefferson for 2nd.
Wow.
So those two combined,
if he went off against the Browns, they could have the number 1 and number 2 receivers in the NFL.
Those two combined have 2,000
that out
receiving
there.
yards. The Browns as a team, or Brissett has thrown for 1,900 yards. So
Yeah.
that puts it into consideration or context.
Now you give Tua the quarterback or the wide receivers of the Patriots or the Cowboys, hell, even the Browns,
Sure, yeah.
and all of a sudden Tua looks like a middle. I think he looks like a middle of the road guy.
And that's because I've always believed that a franchise quarterback, an elite quarterback, can make an ordinary receiving core better than an elite receiver can make an ordinary quarterback.
Right.
But Tyreek is starting to challenge that a little bit.
He's the one guy that would change my mind on that because I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always when Baker played really well, he made Brashard Perryman look like an all-pro as a rookie.
Yeah, and if you go back to his time at Kansas City, and they talked about this during the broadcast of the game Sunday night with Kansas City, they said that, I haven't looked this up statistically, I don't know, but they said that Patrick Mahomes is on pace to have his best year ever as a pro.
Yeah.
He leads the league in passing yards at the moment.
Which is stunning because you literally think about what Kansas City had.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had the dynamic, game-changing wide receiver and the dynamic, game-changing quarterback.
And the tight end.
And the tight end. It's a mystery to me that they've only won one.
Yep.
With all of that talent.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, they only managed to win.
And both
the
of
one
them are
Super Bowl.
producing despite going their separate ways.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's not like
it turns
they
out
needed
it
the
wasn't-
other to be who they
Turns
are.
out they were both fine without each other. You know?
And
And
it's
it's
very
funny-
rare that happens.
It's funny, too, because Mahomes and Tyreek it's worked out for both sides.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers
That's
is the
different.
opposite.
Oh, my
Aaron
goodness.
Rodgers
You stole
has
my
no
point,
one to
Mike.
throw to. Oh, Bull, sorry. Bull, you can go. You can finish. It's a tag team effort.
It's so fun hearing you just pipe in without seeing
I
you
know.
right out of the way. 'Cause it sounds like a puppet from Crank Yankers is trying to butt in.
Well, Bull,
No, I
I
was
set you up for
literally
the alley.
just
You got to throw down the oop now.
But you know what's funny is that Devontae Adams, who's obviously one of the best receivers in football, he leaves Green Bay. They've been awful this year. But he goes to Oakland. He's putting up good numbers, but they're terrible too.
Yeah.
They've been horrible. Derek Carr's having a miserable year, and it is remarkable. So he hasn't made that, even though in theory he's negatively affected the Packers because they're 3-6, but it hasn't had a positive effect on the Raiders, even though he has still put up pretty good numbers. Not Tyreek Hill numbers, but pretty good number. I think he's top 10 in receiving.
I thought the Carr Adams thing, they played together in college. I thought that
Yes.
that combo would just pick up where they left off and everything would be great. So it really is an interesting study to see what's happened with Kansas City and Miami and then juxtapose that with what's happened with the Raiders who have gone south and the Packers can't score a touchdown all of a sudden. They can't
Let me give you
score.
another one, guys.
Yeah.
Let me give you another one where it's also worked out similar to Miami. How about Philadelphia with A.J. Brown going there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jalen Hurts is in the MVP conversation. He's been remarkable. A.J. Brown's been one of the best receivers in football.
Yeah, it really is
Did
stunning.
people
what's
see
going
that
on.
coming? Did people see Philly coming?
I didn't.
I thought
didn't.
they'd be good.
You know, the stat
this
that I
good.
always talk
Not
about that
this
I think
good.
is the most reflective stat in terms of looking at one stat and guessing success for the season is the takeaway. Mm-hmm. I looked at it this morning. Philly's first. New England is second. I think the Ravens are third. All of the teams that are at the top
You would expect, yeah.
are when you look at the records, yeah, makes sense. As much as we talk about wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks and defense, there really is one stat that is very predictive to what your win-loss record is going to be, and it comes down to the turnover margin.
Yeah.
You can look at the top teams in the league, and they're the best in terms of records, and you can look at the teams that are bottom in the league, and they're usually amongst the worst.
But it's so hard to predict turnovers.
A lot of
and
them are fluky.
Yeah, you could be +6 one year and -3 the next.
Yeah,
It's
you can't
so-
bank on it.
Everybody coaches get the ball out defensively,
Sure.
rip the ball out,
But
ball
yeah,
hockey and all
the
that.
fact that winning is dependent on that statistic that's out of your control in some ways is
Yeah, I mean, in some, there's certain things you can do to force. Strip sacks.
Yep.
Those sometimes coverage interceptions where your DBs are so good, quarterbacks start squeezing it into windows. Mikey, did you look that up?
Yeah, so we all know turnovers is always a good indicator of win.
Yeah.
But of the top 10 teams in the NFL right now in turnover differential, there's one anomaly. I'm going to read this in order.
There usually is one at the
10.
top and the bottom.
I'm going to read. I'll check the bottom in a sec. But
Yeah.
of the top 10, this is from 1 down to 10. Let's point out the anomaly. The Eagles at +15, number 1 team in the league. Ravens second, +7. Cowboys third, +6. Vikings tied for third at +6. Bengals +3. Titans +3. Cardinals +3. Seahawks +3. Giants +2. And Chargers +2.
The Seahawks or the
Cardinals are the anomaly.
Are the anomaly there?
But they've also turned the ball over a lot. They just have had very lucky turnover fortunes. They picked off Andy Dalton twice in that one game.
Took one for a pick six.
Returned one for a pick. Both of them for pick six. They had 2 pick sixes.
And within a minute or so.
And at the bottom, I'm looking at it now. I mean, these are the worst teams in the league. New Orleans, dead last. They're terrible. The Colts, second. They're terrible. The Rams, the Packers, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Steelers, and then the Browns, who are -4 in the turnover
differential.
differential.
And if you look at where the Browns are, they're 3 and 5. And that's probably, I mean, it really is. It's a crazy stat. As
and
much
as we talk about numbers, Miami, -3.
Yeah, I knew Miami. That's why I started down this road. Miami does not take the ball away. It's not that they turn it over so much. They just don't take it away. I think they're second to last in the league.
Second to last in forced turnovers. They have 3 takeaways all season. That's it. 3.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. So it's really, really tough to win long term in this league. And the larger the sample size gets, the more this holds true. At the end of the year, when we look at that, I bet there won't be an anomaly in the top 10.
No, because
or in
now
the bottom 10.
They're going to have 5 turnovers on us because we're putting this out there into the world.
The Chiefs are also middle of the pack. That's the other kind of weird one. The Chiefs and the Bills are both Chiefs are -1, Bills are +1 in the turnover differential.
Yeah. Like I said, the bigger the sample size, the more that these teams will separate from where they are. Because the Bengals, I think you said, were +3, and they were in top 10. So at -1, obviously over the next 7 or 8 games, that all could come out in the wash. But I don't know. I think the Browns absolutely have to take care of the football. You can't. It just really speaks to what this league is. If you turn the ball away, turn the ball over, and you don't, and you get turnovers, it's really hard to be successful when you're giving the football away, particularly when you're giving the team a short field.
Did you anybody foresee the Browns, though, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback averaging 25 points a game, which is pretty remarkable?
No, I had to do Zach Jackson, my partner on the Browns, and I did a Browns at the Bye type podcast, and he said, come up with something that you were right about and wrong about. And I said, Jacoby Brissett for both. Because ultimately, he's been far better than I ever thought he could be. Right. Far better. But he's also had
turned it over a lot
the
more
catastrophic turnovers
yes.
and end-of-game situations that has absolutely killed them. So you can look at all their offensive numbers and say, Jacoby Brissett's not the problem with this team. And while I agree with that, Brissett has absolutely killed them in late-game situations when you got to have it from your quarterback.
Just give them the Jets game. That was the one that
that's the one
going
I
back.
totally agree with you. I said we're going to get to the end of the year, and that's the one.
Yeah.
Just fall on the ball. Just fall on the onside kick.
That's it.
That's the
Win
one
that
that
game.
can really haunt them. Because how much different do they look at 4-4 as opposed to 3-5?
Well, they've got a legitimate shot at getting to 6-5, which is what everybody thought they needed to be when Watson came back. If this offense is 4th in yards with Jacoby Brissett, they could be one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL with Deshaun Watson.
Which is why I keep screaming about the Kevin Stefanski nonsense. Like, what else do you want him to do? He's had bad moments. He's had bad games. Yes.
Every coach does.
Of course.
Every coach.
But look at what he's been given throughout his career at quarterback, and look what he's done with it.
Yeah.
What else do you want from the guy? He's had, it drives me crazy. And I do think they're going to be explosive when they get Deshaun in there. Maybe not right away. It's going to take some time.
But now to get to 6-5, you got to win out. You got to win the last 3.
Yeah. And that's
Bull, is that doable?
Can they win the last 3?
Yeah, before they get Watson back.
If Josh Allen's arm falls off today and he goes into surgery.
Can they? Yes. Will they? Probably not. I don't think they have to win all 3, guys.
You think they can get there at 5 and 6?
I think they can, but they're going to have to go. I think if they win, they have to win 2 of the 3, right? If they're 5 and 6, I think they can get in, but Watson's going to have to go 5-1. I think 10 wins probably gets them in.
But how do they get
short
in?
Thing.
Because there's 9 teams ahead of them right now in the AFC. They're not going to hold any wild cards except maybe Miami.
Jason,
if they beat Miami.
To your point, they're 1-4 against the teams ahead of them and 0-3 against the teams ahead of them that are in the playoffs. It doesn't, listen, the numbers don't add up. However, if they do win, 7 of their last 9 games, which they're going to have to do to probably to get into the playoffs, and let's say the only losses are to Buffalo and either Baltimore or Cincinnati at the end. Let's say they lose one of those two and lose to Buffalo. Well, then you would, you're probably not going to get a lot of tiebreakers, but are there going to be 7 other teams that win 10 games? Maybe, but
right now, yes. Right now, that
do you want me to run down the schedule? I got it in front of me with teams. So the Bills are 6-2.
Yeah.
The Jets are 6-3.
That's the one that's going to kill us.
That's not going to last.
That's
The
it won't. But they got to run.
They got the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are 6-3. That's why this week is so crucial.
Yeah.
And the Patriots, who own the tiebreaker, are 5-4. So the whole AFC East is above 500. In the North, you have the Ravens at 6-3. The Bengals at 5-4, so you have the tiebreaker currently over the Bengals. You'll see them again. Same with the Ravens. In the South, the Titans are making the playoffs. The other 3 teams are trash.
Yep.
And then in the West, the Chiefs will make the playoffs at 6-2. The Chargers are 5-3 with the tiebreaker over them.
Yep.
So
I think the path is the division. You have to win the division.
I agree, but that's why I was so disappointed last night that the Ravens won and looked good
impressive,
doing it. So that's why I just keep going back to the Jets game. You can play. There were a lot of other ifs.
Totally agree.
But the Jets game is an all-time epic collapse.
Loss. Yes.
It was. If you go back, it's been 30 years or whatever since the team blew a 14-point lead with under 2 minutes to go. Just hold your damn serve there.
Yep.
The difference between 4-4 and 3-5 is light years.
Yep.
It's light years. Because at 4-4, there is an absolute path to get there. I just don't see how it happens now.
Here's the problem with trying to win the division, right? You've already lost to the Ravens. Mm-hmm. You're, 2.5 games back of the Ravens?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Ravens schedule?
I have. Yes.
7 of the next 8 games are against sub-500 teams.
They have one team on their schedule the rest of the way that's a 500 team.
And that's the Bengals. That's it.
And they've upgraded their defense as much as I've ever seen one team upgrade their defense during the season.
Yeah.
They looked completely different.
They know what they're doing.
Agreed.
They have for a long time.
They do. I never thought that trade was even possible.
With Roquan Smith?
I just didn't think. Why would Chicago let him go?
Well, they weren't going to sign him, but
why?
Because they're rebuilding. He's an off-ball linebacker. But I was doing some research and I saw that Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta was, looking for players at the deadline, and he didn't want to make a big move. But then he had a Built Bar. And the Built Bar inspired him with the extra protein
getting better at hiding his
rushing
delivery
through
on
his
these.
veins to go out and make a big ballsy move like acquiring Roquan Smith.
So Built
and he goes,
Bar
you know
led
what?
to that trade.
I can afford
sense.
Roquan Smith because I saved $100 by using promo code LOCKEDON15 on that Built Bar order, and that extra cash helped us get Roquan Smith. It sucks for Browns fans, but Eric DeCosta,
Gotta respect the Built Bar, though.
He's a supporter of Built Bars.
Mike, he used to show his fastball.
I know. I used to see it coming a mile away.
Now
he just slid that in there. I'm like, what?
I just told Anthony I got a good one coming. Be ready.
Yeah, it was well done.
Pretty proud of that one.
Well
Thank
done.
you. He did look really good last night, though. In all seriousness, Roquan Smith made a massive difference. He held Alvin Kamara to like 3 yards out of the backfield on receptions, which no one has done.
He neutralized one of the game's best players, and really, I don't know. Olave had an okay game, but their passing game, they're a mess. The Saints are an absolute.
No Landry last night. Jarvis wasn't out there.
Yeah, I mean they're just a mess. Go
ahead,
Bull.
we've missed. Sorry to jump in here, but we've missed the biggest story of the weekend. The Colts hired a coach.
I know.
Out of the TV booth. This is insane.
Insane. I worked with Jeff for 10 years. He's a great guy.
How's that going to go?
But listen. It's
crazy.
How's it going to go?
Do you guys know his record in high school as a coach?
Yeah, he's like
coached 3 years in high school.
500.
Yeah, he's like average
500.
coach.
20 and
He
16.
coached at a Christian high school, I
Christian
think.
high school in Georgia.
Here's the weird
They
thing.
may call you to call the plays on Sunday because they don't have a play caller.
That's where it's going to break down. I think if you had a good offensive coordinator and a good defensive coordinator, you could come in and you could have, first of all, the Colts are a mess.
Yeah.
When I watched their news conference last night,
he is unhinged.
He is
Irsay
unhinged.
That was the
unhinged.
best press conference ever.
Electric.
I said this morning, like every team has PR guys who like coach you up during a press conference. This is what you say, avoid this, phrase this way, this is the points we want to hit on. It's like he walked into that room and said, nope, I got this. He showed up looking for a fight.
He set analytics on fire, too.
And he's going to get it. He wanted a fight. He's going to get a fight.
Yeah,
that
it's not going to end well.
Unbelievable.
It is not going
Jay,
to end well.
How is Saturday going to do as a coach? And just a reminder, I can reach you really well.
His men will run through a wall for him.
Okay.
I used to love to watch when former players would come into the green room and they would interact with ESPN's talent. Because a lot of them they're not big on throwing opinion around, the players when they come in.
Bite their tongues.
But Jeff Saturday was an absolute man's man. Every guy that came in loved Jeff Saturday. I don't know what it is about him. He's a man's man. He's funny. He's a super nice guy.
He doesn't have faith in him as a coach.
But no, listen, I'm going there.
Okay.
Where I'm going with this is, we always talk about Kevin Stefanski should be the CEO, and I want my offensive coordinator piloting the offense with the CEO's input, a lot of input, and the same thing on the defensive side. This can't work, guys. It cannot work. It's going to be an epic fail because what you have is an owner who's now decided that the entire establishment is broken.
Right.
I don't want a head coach with any experience. Okay, that usually goes very badly. And he, like most that meet and spend time with Jeff Saturday, love being around him. And Jeff makes great sense when you listen to him on TV. I've seen a lot of guys make great sense when you listen to him on TV. I've also seen coaches that were pretty damn good come on TV and couldn't get their way out of the segment.
Right.
You know?
It's two completely different animals.
It's two worlds.
Yes.
It's two worlds.
Like, you're
Rex
a great heart surgeon. You're a terrible delivery person. You know?
Yeah. That's it.
Come on.
That's it. Rex Ryan was a guy. I had zero faith in Rex as a coach. I just thought the guy was the biggest fraud ever. He would come into the studio and everybody, the camera people would be like, we're hanging on every word.
Right. Yeah.
He's charismatic.
Yeah.
Charisma in the coaching world doesn't amount to a hill of beans.
Right.
And if you look historically at the all-time greats, who's the best of all time? Bill Belichick. How much charisma does he have?
Right.
You can put all of his charisma in this cap, and you would still be able to fit a cap full of water in there.
It's generous.
And the others, Landry, if you go way back, Chuck Noll, all the greats.
Yep.
And then you got these guys that come in, and we bought one here in Freddie. We love Freddie. But the charisma guys typically fail. You can't even list them. Rex Ryan had all kinds of charisma, but I just think Jeff is going to fail, and I think he's going to fail for a lot of reasons. But first and foremost, there's no structure. Right now, I can only imagine what he's doing. He's got to be going through their playbook saying, what do I keep? What do I get rid of?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, Bull, I think way too much is made about play calling, and we blow it. We spend way too much time. They don't have anyone on staff who has ever called a play. Like,
it's insane.
That's totally crazy.
They fired the OC also the week before.
Yes.
And in a way, this reminds me a little, not personality-wise, but of David Blatt, Jason, because like the Cavs hired David Blatt, and everybody in the league was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And
You know
now
what?
everybody.
It's funny you say that because I said this morning, there's always hires where you say, that's the owner. The owner did that.
Yes.
Tony La Russa, that's Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yes.
Jerry made that hire. I used Blatt as the example. That's Dan. There's no way on earth David Griffin would have hired David Blatt. That was all Dan. And this is all Jim Irsay. This is an owner hire, and I don't understand for the life of me why these guys feel like they know more than the people who are the actual experts who they hired to do the job.
Because they're
But the
entitled
owner
rich
comes in,
guys.
pulls their
That's
pants
true.
down and says, no, I'm going to do this.
They
I'm
know
going to make
better.
this
Smart.
hire.
And
It drives
guys,
me crazy.
I think it's a great day for people in the analytics crowd because the biggest dope owner, or one of the biggest dope owners in the league, said analytics, forget analytics. Who cares about that? So I don't know that you want Jim Irsay on your side, the anti-analytics crowd.
No, I don't, because I'm more anti-analytics than probably anybody on the panel. I think it should be a 50-50 split. What Irsay said was, I want a guy with some guts. I want a guy that's going to look at the situation and make the right call, not look at his calculator to make the right call. Now,
everybody said, Jay, that Dan Campbell, guts, tough guy. Look at his team. They suck. They're terrible again.
And they use analytics there. It's not like they're –
I'm sure they do. Everybody uses
what we're going to see in Detroit what we're going to see in Indy will be anti-analytics. Like, absolutely – because it has to be a blend of both. You can't ignore the numbers. You can't. But you also can't lean too heavily on them. And it's interesting that you're right, because now Irsay is going to be – he's the flag bearer for the anti-analytics crowd.
Yep.
And he doesn't have the team to win anyhow. Now, Bull, if Jeff Saturday goes 8-1 down the stretch, we all got a problem.
Weirder things have happened, though. Weirder things have happened. But you never know when.
You're right.
If they're playing free and easy, there's no expectations on them. This guy's never coached before.
They will want to take a hill for him.
They
will.
So, you know.
But, guys, this is a slap in the face to all the coaches out there. Like, first of all, if you're another coach on this team, I think Reggie White is a coach on, not Reggie White. Reggie Wayne is a coach on this team.
Reggie White, he was they're a bigger problem than I thought.
Yeah, right.
We got a big story too.
Maybe Jim Irsay would have done that because Jim Irsay, who knows what's going on his side of his brain. But it's an insult to all the coaches out there that've been busting their ass all season. I mean, I'm surprised Jeff Saturday agreed to this. Irsay said that he's been trying to get him to take a job within the organization for a while. I'm surprised he would agree. Like, if you made this hire in the offseason, that's one thing, because it still seems crazy, but at least he would have time to get up to speed. But to do it in the middle of the season, I mean, maybe they just want to be as bad as possible so they get the first pick in the draft. Maybe they're tanking for that.
Admittedly, dumb question. Did they have to Rooney rule this?
No.
They didn't.
No.
Supposedly, no.
Not for
because
mid-season.
It's in the season.
Right.
It's in the season.
In the offseason, they would.
What an interesting and problematic loophole.
Yes.
Right?
Do you think they reached out to Peyton Manning first, and he said no?
Peyton has made it very clear. He wants nothing to do with the football industry other than what he's doing right now.
I'm sure they reach out to Peyton, as our guy does, as Jimmy does here.
Sure.
Right.
I'm sure they've reached out to Peyton multiple times. But Bull, of course he's going to take the job. If someone's going to make you a head coach in the NFL, how could you say no to that?
Right.
But I don't think that this is a total tank job, because why would you embarrass one of the legends? I mean, Jeff Saturday is a legend of the Colts.
That's fair.
He is.
Why would you want to bring him in and embarrass him like that? You can go find another high school coach somewhere in the country if that's what you're trying to do. And they got a long way to go, because I was having that argument with somebody else. They're middle of the pack. Like 3-5-1 is not.
No.
There's a lot of teams that are bunched together.
And in their division too, it's not like they're looking up at what are the Titans? 6-2,
5-3,
5-3. Okay, so.
But there's a lot of teams, if they're trying, and listen, I think that they should try and get in position to get a quarterback, because that's been the biggest problem with the organization since Andrew Luck stunned them and retired.
Yeah.
They haven't had a quarterback. But there's so many. Now's a really bad time to do that, because it's not necessarily that, okay, well, the worst team is only a couple games behind you. There's 14 teams or 12 teams that you have to plummet under if you're trying to get one of the top 1 or 2 picks.
You got to get under like 6 of our draft picks
now,
that we don't have anymore.
Maybe they can get, top 5, 7, 8, and then maybe you trade up from there. But it's going to be really hard for them. It's going to be really hard for them to get to 1 or 2 from where they're at.
I will say, Bull, I'm glad you brought that up, because my immediate instinct was this now becomes the most fascinating situation outside of playoff races in the NFL, to see what happens with the Indianapolis Colts with a guy who's completely on the outside. Yeah, he was a great player. He played for a long time in the organization. He's stayed close to the game because he's been a broadcaster, but I can only imagine Jeff's head right now as he walks into the building he's got to have a million questions.
Yeah.
Well, and Aditi, I was talking to Aditi about this morning. She brought up a great point. Like, the Texans got destroyed for trying to do this with Josh McCown, where they were going to pluck this guy in off the street, and they got obliterated for it, and ultimately weren't able to do it and pivoted to Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
And now the Colts are doing the exact same thing with Jeff. It's the exact same thing.
Pretty much.
And that was in the offseason where he would have had time.
Right.
This was a real head scratcher. Am I the only one, by the way, that every time I watch Irsay speak, I just get the sense that he is on a bender? Is that just his personality?
Well, he's got a history.
I know he's had an issues, but
it's hard to tell.
Yesterday, watching him, I was looking at him going, is he smashed?
Well, it's great. Like, he's talking like, I've never picked a bad head coach. Okay, and they have, and I was looking at this morning, they have had, every coach they've had since like 98 has had a winning record. But he's getting drunk off the smell of his own farts here, because he's also had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck for a lot of that. So I think it has to do with your quarterback more than it does your ability to pick a head coach.
A former coworker of mine who's been in the Tampa Bay market forever, he's been covering the Bucs. He texted me this morning and said, "Wow, I'm surprised Irsay didn't try to reel in Tony Dungy again." That would have made a lot more sense.
And Tony probably wants nothing.
He may have reached out to Tony and said, "Please come back."
Yeah.
Tony's too smart. Yeah. I love the guys when I ask. So you've been doing this for a couple of years now. How do how does it compare? And they always say the same thing. The first guy I ever heard say this was Herm Edwards. He goes, I'm undefeated. It feels great.
Well, I mean, John Gruden left to go back after a long time off. Are there any others? Because I can't really, off the top of my head. I mean, Bill Cowher had been rumored for years, and that never happened.
Right.
Tony's a guy who I'm sure would have opportunities to go back if he wanted them.
You would think.
The money probably isn't quite as good as the NFL, but it ain't bad.
But you're right.
No.
It tells you.
John Gruden was making as much or more
John probably is the
doing Monday Night
exception.
Football than he was as an NFL head coach.
It tells you how grueling that gig is, how few people do go back to it after they leave it. The fact that they because that really would
get your life back.
Yeah.
Like you can have a somewhat normal actual.
And once you realize, like John did, I was always surprised that he went back. John Madden figured this out. Now, he had the video game money, too. But I always thought John Madden got out of coaching so young, I thought at some point he's going to. The guy that did it was Dick Vermeil. He retired young and spent a long time doing college games. And then came back and had great success with the Rams. But it's really rare where you see it because when you go into TV and they're still making that kind of money, there's 6 zeros on your paycheck, they do come to that realization. They're like, hell, I'm not getting up at 3:15 in the morning. I'm not eating my dinner cold at the facility at 10 o'clock at night. This doesn't suck.
I'm not cutting some 22-year-old on Christmas Day. You know, that kind of those decisions you have to make.
And when the Super Bowl's over, you have a 7-month off season.
Yes. Yep.
That doesn't stink either.
Right. One more point I want to make before we got to pivot to the Cavs here.
Okay.
How about them holding the press conference during the middle of Monday Night Football last
night?
night?
What was that?
I think he's trying to hide the fact that there were other things going on in the league so they'd have less national media people trying to ask questions.
Maybe.
It was just the smartest thing they did all day. It was
but
genius.
Jim Irsay is just so unconventional that a lot of times if you try to give him credit for making a smart move, it's a mistake because it's just like, no, he didn't think that through. He just did
throwing haymakers.
He's just swinging from the hip.
There's a lot of guys in that circle who have FU money, and that was an FU move. That was an FU money move. This is my team. I'm going to do what I want. You guys are idiots for questioning me. Watch me.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be so fun to watch this.
All right, we're watching. You were looking for a fight yesterday. You're getting it.
Bull, I'm going to let you start on the Cavs.
Yes, please.
Wow is all I can say. With 5 minutes to go, it looked like this one was in the hip pocket. And with Milwaukee losing, it looked like they were going to be in a tie for first place in the division. And it just all went downhill in a hurry. What did you see?
It was stunning. Overall, I mean, it was a great weekend because they won in Detroit, obviously, Friday when they didn't have their 2 best guards. And then, the way they played in the second half against LeBron and the Lakers was fantastic. And it looked like, as you said, they were going to cruise in the fourth quarter, pulling away up by 13 to their 9th straight victory. And they just, for whatever reason, Donovan Mitchell has been phenomenal. It looked hesitant to shoot in that stretch, like for a 5-minute stretch. It was really weird. I don't know what
he shot.
I don't know
once
what happened
in the last 7 minutes, I think.
Once in the last 7 minutes, and he didn't score until his last 2 free throws. His last point before that was with 11:30 in the fourth quarter.
I also think my guy Ty Lue did a nice job of trying to get the ball out of his hands.
He made it tougher for them for sure.
Because that's what Ty does.
But guys, big picture, like Paul George after the game. I don't know if you saw his quotes, but he was like, this was a huge win for us. We beat a really good team.
They were in a bad spot. The Clippers have been in a bad way. Ty called them out and really ripped them about a week ago, so they're not a very good team.
And that was a gut check win, too, against a great team. And when you're down 13 with 5 to go, I mean, there are certain things, after the Browns blew a 14-point lead with 2 minutes to go, you never say never, but if you have a double-digit lead and there's 4 minutes or less, you feel pretty comfortable. And one team took their foot off the gas, and Ty Lue had his Clippers pedal to the metal, and it was stunning. Bull, I'm with you. I was really disappointed in Mitchell's almost like, I know it wasn't his decision. They were making it tough to get the ball in his hands, but that's why you're here. You're the guy that we want the ball in your hands with 2 minutes to go in the game in the balance, and he didn't do it.
Agreed. But I think, the positive obviously has outweighed the negative by a million times. And I think in the long run, I love the video after the game when they went crazy about this. What is this thing they give out? The dog chain? I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, junkyard dog chain.
The junkyard dog thing. Like the way they gave it to the coach and the team, I think, it was awful the last 5 minutes. But I think Donovan Mitchell said it after the game. We're going to learn from this. This is something that's going to happen in the playoffs. He said that specifically. Jason, you've talked about before how Ty Lue is a great playoff coach. He's great at making adjustments, right? And the game is coached differently. And Donovan Mitchell said specifically, hey, we have to learn from this. We're going to learn from this. And I think with this coaching staff and this team, despite the ugly ending, I have zero doubt that they will learn from this experience. And, listen, good team's going to lose games like this once in a while. It has you shaking your head. But I don't think this will happen very often. I do think there was a major positive in the way Mobley played offensively. He had a great game. But despite the brutal ending, I really couldn't be more excited about this team right now. I think they're a measuring stick for the rest of the league, which is remarkable.
I
would
would
have thought
second
they'd be
that. I would second that, Bull. And it's tough in the moment because the loss was so disappointing.
Sure.
But hell, they're 8-2. The Bucks are 9-1. If you look at all the metrics, offensively and defensively, they're at the top of the league.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of circle back to the Lakers game and LeBron's comments after the loss.
Yeah.
I watched that entire news conference. Shout out to
mentioned Jason.
He mentioned you as like his good friend Jason.
Would you look at him trying to play it down?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't think it's cool that LeBron mentioned him.
It was pretty cool.
He's like, oh, did he mention my name again? Did he call me his friend? I'm so annoyed by that.
No, because he knows I'm sure he's forgotten. He's got more important things. But
Sure.
we got into it when he called us his wives. He called me Dave and Joe Varden, his McMenamin and Joe Varden.
Yeah,
his road wives. And I'm like, don't ever call me. Like, that's so disrespectful. Don't ever call me your wife.
Right,
Yeah, and
it's
I got into
disrespectful.
so like stuff like that drives me crazy. And then he did it again. If we're friends, how come I've never been invited to any of his cool parties or have never been invited over for a
Well, he
cookout?
probably
You're
doesn't
one of
want
his
to
never been
He
invited
probably
to
doesn't want to
dinner.
drag down the scene, right?
We are like, for
know?
the record, we are not friends.
All
we
right.
have a very amicable working relationship, professional relationship.
I wanted to ask
Come on,
you,
Jason.
are
It's
we
cool.
friends?
He mentions you by name. Come on.
We have a great relationship. Like, there's a lot of trust there on both sides, obviously. There's a lot of respect there. I have a ton of respect for him, obviously, a ton of respect for him. And, I would guess I could say it's mutual both ways.
Yeah.
But he hasn't invited you to stay in his cryogenic freezing chamber or anything like
we
that.
have not.
He should.
Well,
Counterpoint, Jason, have you invited LeBron over for Taco Tuesday dinner when he was in Cleveland? Well, then listen, you can't be mad that he hasn't invited you.
that's
to
good
fair.
point, Nuggets.
But that's
true.
that's my
Jay,
point.
The phone works both ways.
I bring that up because I watched the entire news conference. I'm guessing you did too. I was fascinated. Once the conversation turned to Cleveland,
Yeah.
I was just fascinated. First of all, his demeanor. He looked like a kid who's been abandoned on the playground and knows what his current situation is, that it's untenable. The Lakers are
Yes.
who they are now.
Yes.
And he's watching his ex-girlfriend pal around with all of the kids that used to play around with him on the playground.
Yep.
They're all now
So
with his
happy,
ex-girlfriend.
laughing.
What did you make of his Cleveland response? How he talked about these guys just love the ball. I think he's officially hit the envious stage and maybe regret.
I disagree.
You do.
Because he chose this life.
No, that doesn't mean that he can't feel regret now.
But he knew what was that. That's why his comments to me at All-Star Weekend exploded so much. Like, obviously he knows why they erupted because he was about to become a free agent. Now he's not. Like, he signed up for this. He knew what he was getting into when he took that money from the Lakers. He knew they weren't going to be very good. He knew there's not really a path back to
So
where
why'd he
he
do it?
was. Because he's reached, I can comfortably, like, this is the question I had before going into free agency. I'll go back to the conversation we had in New Orleans when he just blew up the entire franchise and said, we're top heavy, we need more playmakers, and just put the pressure on Griff and Dan and everybody. And when he was done, he said, it'd be different if I wasn't still in championship mode, but I'm still playing at an incredibly high level. And my question all summer has been, is he still in championship mode? By signing that contract, he said, no, I am no longer in
saying he
championship
shut it
mode.
down.
You know that LeBron changes his mind like the wind
Oh, of
changes
course.
direction.
But-
and I know he signed that, and I know in the moment maybe he thought maybe we can still get one done, but we're only 15% through the season.
Right.
But he sees what he has there. And look, a guy can buy a car and 3 days later say, what the hell did I do that for?
No, but he knew.
As I listen to LeBron, who's fickle and emotional,
Sure.
to me, it sounded like he wants to be a part of this.
No, I don't think so because he had every opportunity. Like, they could have fit him. If he wanted to come back.
Yeah,
they-
but Donovan Mitchell makes this a different situation.
But he could have been Donovan Mitchell.
He could have been
before the
Donovan
trade.
Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell wouldn't be here.
Yes, but I'm saying he would be that Donovan Mitchell piece playing alongside Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and Jared. He knew what this thing was. He knew how close they were to going over the top. He knew he could have been the piece to put them over the top, and he still chose to stay in L.A. He's got a comfortable life out there. His kids are happy out there.
Probably working on a genie movie of some sort.
And he
still wants rings. He may not
Most
be in
likely.
championship mode because he knows he can't get it done there.
But he could have. He could have come back. Like, they had pretty much a slot for him. Like, there's a reason that they left this open all summer long. And then when he went back to L.A., they pulled the trigger on the Mitchell deal. But they couldn't. I don't think that they could have had LeBron and Donovan.
No, I don't see
It
how
would
they
have been
could've.
one or the like, because probably would have had to renounce Colin in order to fit LeBron in and everything. So it wouldn't have worked to get them both. I don't think. I'm not a capologist, but he had the opportunity to come back, and he chose not to. So I don't feel sorry for him, and I don't think that he's looking at this enviously, because he knows he could have been the piece that brought them this.
Bull, am I reading into his comments? I'm sure you watched the news conference, and I understand everything Jason just said, but you can make a decision and regret it 3 months later. But watching him talk about this Cavs team, about how they just love to play ball and they're having fun, I couldn't help but think that somewhere in LeBron, there's the question swirling in his head: if I went to Cleveland right now, does this make them the top team in the NBA? And my answer to that is yes.
I think you can both be right. Like, I don't see how, Jason, he can't have at least some level of envy or jealousy about this team, even though he made the choices, and obviously you know him better than we do. He made these choices, and you're right, it's probably impossible that they could have had Donovan Mitchell and him together. But in a dream world, there's got to be at least a little part of him thinking, oh my God, if I could be on that team with Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, and Garland, even though it might not be, it's probably not realistic. There's got to be a tiny part of him that would love to be playing on this team, because they'd be by far the best team in the NBA. I don't even think it'll be close.
Okay, so here's an apt comparison. He would tell me one day, like, he loves the Warriors. This is when he was here. He said, I love Golden State. I love everything that they stand for. I love what they've done. I love the way they play. I love that staff. All of it. Like, he loves the Warriors. Right. He's like, I could never play there. Like, I could never play for them.
Why?
Just because of, like, the legacy. He could never leave Cleveland and go to Golden State. He got destroyed for going to Miami. Imagine if he left and tried to go to Golden State.
Sure, I understand all of that.
So I kind of like make that comparison here to where he loves what the Cavs are doing. I think he probably is happy for his fans of Akron and Cleveland that they have it back. But I think he realizes, like, exactly what you said, Bull, this version with Donovan, adding LeBron to that, I don't think was ever realistic. So he can love it. He can look at it and say, this is great for them. This is fantastic. I love what they're doing. It doesn't fit for me to ever be part of it. I think it's an
not ever though. How long is his contract with the Lakers?
It's only 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but he might be looking at that and saying that's not going anywhere for a while. That's a young team.
And this is where it gets really complicated. When we had the conversation over All-Star, and I said, like, I threw out like mid-level exception, and he like scoffed at me. And he goes, "I'm a max player. I'm not coming for anything less than max."
That's so sad.
But when
It's
his
stupid,
son,
really.
He might change his mind.
But he might. With Dan, it's different. He doesn't want to give Dan a break. Like,
Right.
There's, folks,
Nor has Dan
no
earned one.
relationship between those two.
Thanks,
there
Dan.
Never has been.
Hope it was
Whatever it is, it's bad.
Hope it was worth the Comic Sans letter, Dan, that we can't get him here on a friendly contract. Thanks again.
They just tolerated each other for those 4 years.
I know.
Never really. So he's not going to cut.
That was
Dan
a
break.
shotgun wedding.
But I mean, when Bronny enters the league, if and when, and there's that whole other discussion: is he ready? Is he really an NBA player? Is he going to college? That whole thing. Then, I mean, LeBron's already said, "I'm going wherever he goes," and the money doesn't matter at that point. It's just the opportunity to play with his son. So who knows how the LeBron book ends? There could be a wild twist at the end. I'm not sure. He did say he would like to come back here. Maybe it's even on a one-day contract as a phony little thing to retire a Cavalier. I don't know. But I don't think the final chapter has been written between LeBron and Cleveland.
I don't either.
I just don't know what that looks like.
What if he
I'm with
buys
you.
the team?
I am with you. I don't think
he
it's
buys
done.
the team from Dan,
Dan
comes
will
back
never
to play.
sell to him.
It's
Dan
true.
would rather lose all of his money and go into bankruptcy and have the league take the
And
team.
LeBron-
from
Well,
him.
it sounds like a really healthy
LeBron
relationship
wants
the two of
a
them.
franchise in Las Vegas.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
come out and said
he
his
wants
mind.
a team.
And I bet that happens.
And
I think
these are
that's
the-
very likely
Jason
to
would-
happen.
Jason, would Dan's kids sell to him?
No, I don't think so.
And these are the level-headed oligarchs that run our world.
But I will say, I will say that Dan, listen, Dan and I have had our wars. We haven't really had a conversation in years. But he has done some really good things as an owner. He's aggressive in spending. And
I think the best thing he's ever done as an owner is to take himself out of the equation.
well,
Whether that was his decision
It was
or not.
health-related
Health-related,
reasons.
but now that he's on the sidelines and just writing the checks,
Yes.
look at what this organization has done.
And I do think, and we wrote about this last year, his son Grant is the heir apparent to the throne, and Grant's role is growing every year. But he's a kid. He just graduated college.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he never came in thinking he knew everything.
Good.
He knew what he didn't know. He's tried to work in a bunch of different departments. He's tried to learn the business. And I feel really good about Grant as this thing grows and as his role grows. I feel really good about him empowering people and sort of having the Dolan way of staying out of the way and letting the people that they hire do their jobs. And if you combine the Gilbert money with
The willingness to
with
spend money, yeah.
with the Gilbert money and the aggressiveness in spending, which, as Dan sort of separates over the years and as Grant grows, who knows if they'll continue to spend this way. But if they do,
Right.
if they certainly have the means. If they continue to spend, and if you have an ownership structure in place that empowers the people to do the jobs that you hire them to do, that's the best combination you could have.
In other words, it's
I am hopeful.
It's the perfect setup, endless money without ownership to get in the way or have an opinion.
it is. It's rarely the case.
It's rarely
guys.
Because usually when they have that much money, you get Jerry Jones.
Yes.
What's up, Adam?
Let me say this. What's really exciting now is that we know the Cavs can play with anybody, right? They can play with anybody. And I'm really excited because think about this. I know Golden State's not playing great, but after today's election day, of course, the NBA has no games today, which is a great job by them. So every American should go out and vote. I believe it's your duty to do so. So you're playing Golden State on Friday, which I'm really excited about. I know Golden State's not played great, but I think Steph Curry scored like 50 last night, or 48 or something, and he's been playing great. So that's fun. And what I'm really excited about, guys, they play Milwaukee twice in the next few weeks. They're at both times at Milwaukee. Next Wednesday, the 16th, and then Black Friday. 2 games this month at Milwaukee, plus a game at Golden State. Those are some awesome tests that I can't wait to see what the Cavs do in those games.
Yeah, they're good yardstick games. I think so far, the Celtics games were the yardstick games.
They were.
And they came through them. But everybody else, there's a lot of wins in there that they better win those games.
And yes, they are yardstick games, I agree. But they are yardstick games that mean far more to Cleveland than they do Boston and Milwaukee.
Sure.
And that
you're
has
right.
to be factored in as
They're
well.
climbing the mountain.
I don't know.
But
I was at that second Boston game, and that seemed like it meant a hell of a lot to those.
Oh, it was
to
a
them.
playoff atmosphere.
They were chippy, man.
For sure.
I think the second one did because the first time they got caught off guard on their court.
Yeah.
They
They
really
came in
wanted,
mad.
They wanted to send a message, but to Jason's point, they have what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the hungrier team has just enough to get them over the edge.
Losses don't mean much when you went to the finals the year before. A random loss in November. You're
Right.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
move on a lot quicker. Go ahead, Bull. You had something.
But guys, now the Cavs are to the point where all the teams that were where the Cavs were, like these mediocre teams, these bad young teams, like they're going to bring it every night when they play the Cavs because everybody else knows how good the Cavs are now.
Yeah, they're not sneaking
They
up
have
on
to be
anybody
prepared
this
for
year.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not sneaking up on people this year. Like
That's
they did
exactly
last
right.
year.
Those days are gone for sure. And every team that plays them, I like to look at the opposing team's comments after the games. Like they're heaping major praise on this organization,
Rightfully
what
so.
they have, how young they are, how everybody seems to like each other. The one thing that I love that LeBron said was, when I look at their team, I don't see a lot of guys hanging out on social media, and that is so true.
Yeah.
The league, the NBA, more than any other pro league, is a Twitter league. They love to, here I am, look at this, look at that. These These guys are all of that age, and none of them care.
Because, as I've said before, one of the reasons I love this team is because they are nerds. I love that they're nerds. They don't go out. You never see them at town hall. They're at home playing. The Mobleys are at home playing video games together. The Mobley brothers
Let's
right
keep
now,
it that way.
And that's where I want them.
Yeah.
You guys stay home. I watched that Lakers game with a bunch of friends at at a tavern setting on Sunday, and it was really fascinating. I'm watching a regular season basketball game that felt like a playoff game. Just watching it with people. People are excited about this team, and people who are out and about. There were people wearing Cavs stuff just watching the Cavs on a random Sunday for a regular season game. Now it was a Lakers game.
When was the last time that happened for a non-LeBron Cavs team?
Right. And what I did like seeing, too, was just LeBron has always had our number. What was that? Is that the third time we beat him? Third time we've ever beat him since he left. Ever. That's insane. And even in those ones,
Miami and the Lakers combined?
Yep.
Miami, they beat him once his first year. Remember, he absolutely destroyed him his first game back.
Yeah,
and then the second game, the Ryan Hollins game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the
Cavs won. That was, and that was it.
The Ryan Hollins
game.
That's how it'll always be known.
And then they beat the Lakers, which I had forgotten totally about. I still don't remember much about it. I think his first year in L.A., they stole a win against the Lakers.
But regardless, even when sometimes we'd pull ahead in those games and stuff, but LeBron's always just shaking his head. He's just like, all right, guys, all right. And then he would but this was the first game that you just saw that he didn't have that. That wasn't an option this time.
Yeah.
You didn't feel like that was coming any minute. And we're just like, this team has surpassed what he can do to us.
Late against
right
the
now.
Lakers, they got it close enough to where I thought, okay, now LeBron's going to have interest. But
no, he just sat back.
They
showed him on the bench. He was just checking his stocks on his phone.
He's reached that point, guys.
You could be right on that.
Yeah.
McNuggets?
Yeah, I don't get offended by many things, but something that Polk just said hurt me. We are at the stage now where LeBron is name-dropping Jason Lloyd in press conference, and Mike is talking about going to watch the Cavs game with friends, and I can't even get a name drop in that, Polk.
Wow.
That hurt. I was there.
Mike
I met
Lucas was
Hot
there.
Carl
Sorry.
and Big Ed and
Hot
all
Carl.
his friends with cool nicknames, and
Yep.
couldn't even get the
Wow.
LeBron James courtesy
I don't
shout.
know.
In the inner circle, at least.
I thought it's just it's so chill between us now that I just didn't even feel like mentioning. I thought that we were a package and everyone just knew that.
Okay. As long
Do you think he bought that?
We
think he
are-
bought
we
that?
are good.
No, Mikey Mike met up and watched the Cavs game. And we had a swell time. You were very personable and you didn't embarrass anyone.
Yeah, I got a text from him. I was at dinner with my wife, and I got a text from him that he met the one person that could take down my entire career, who has every body I've buried in college and in my 20s.
Yeah,
Wow, who's that?
A mutual friend of ours.
A mutual friend of ours.
Who, he could burn us both.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But we got enough
So
stuff
he's on
him.
your payroll, that is
We
what
got
you're
enough
saying.
stuff on him though. It's like the Soviet Union, or it's like Russia and
Mutual
USA.
assured destruction.
Yeah.
Both hands off the buzzers.
Yeah.
And if you want to be friends with us and do some exclusive behind-the-scenes content, we do have 2 membership tiers now that are available. The starters tier is $1.99 a month. You get some cool custom emojis, some members-only community posts. We also do an overtime segment every day. Now that's the coaches tier for $4.99 a month. Today we're talking about which Cleveland athletes would make the best presidential ticket on Election Day. A little
Current Cleveland athletes
would make the best presidential ticket. So we'll have some fun with that.
I think I've got a good one. I can't wait to hear what everybody else says.
We're gonna do that.
You get the you get the.
It'll be fun.
Can we go back to that once, or is it too late? You do get, obviously, with membership, the Mike Lucas walking in on his parents having sex emoji. If anybody is.
You get that in both. We also are up to 12 emojis now. We added Happy Brad this morning.
Oh,
So
good.
if you want more emojis, we got to hit certain membership numbers to unlock the rest of them. So
We need that's some BS.
that's coming. I
All
don't know
right.
what number that's coming. Ian Hill schedules these out ahead of time, but that is
okay.
in the queue. It is coming. I know we mentioned.
We need a Jason Lloyd, LeBron and I aren't friends, word balloon emoji as well.
I love the guy. I love the guy. But, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not friends.
No, not friends.
So we got Jen at 12:30. We will save top 5 for later in the week. So it's a good top 5. But
I had your number 1. I already knew what your number 1 was going to happen Sunday.
that's on the list. It's not number 1.
Hey, Mike,
It's on
It
the
should
list.
be number 1.
But let's do a little Major League review, though, because we got
Real
to give
quick.
that at least 10 minutes. What's up, Bo?
All right.
Give me 60 seconds to shout out my son who performed in his show this weekend.
Woo!
And we were going to come out to the truck park at the end of the game and the end of the show, but I was masked up on Sunday. I wasn't feeling great. But he kicked ass this week. The whole 50-member team of 8 to 15-year-olds was phenomenal. By the third show, I was kind of done watching the entire show.
You don't need to see three of that.
It was cute, and there was some really funny parts, and my son was awesome in his scene. So I was really proud of him. And he's going to audition for another show in the spring.
Well,
Congrats.
Here's the thing. We figured this out in about 20 seconds when he came to visit us. The kid is a born showman. And I don't know if he's just usurped that from being around you or if he has that naturally, but the kid is a born showman, loves to perform.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, he was great, and I'm very, very, very proud of him.
Now, is that show over? Does it run for another weekend or anything, or is that
No, it was just one weekend.
Okay. That's a blessing. It is. Congratulations.
Well, now be careful, Bull, because I have friends who had 2 girls get involved in that world, and turned out that they weren't just cute to friends and family, they were cute to mass audiences. The family literally dropped their life and had to move to New York City because the 2 girls were cast in a Broadway play.
Wow.
Long-running Broadway play. They've been there for like 7 years.
Wow. That's
so
amazing.
Be careful, man. You could be packing it all up and moving to Broadway, going back home.
Back working at the fan.
I don't want to.
The other fan.
I don't want to move back.
No,
I
know, but just be careful. You know, that stuff happens, and they never anticipated it. They were just doing some local community theater, and the next thing you know, they get a call from an agent, let me take you on some reads, and boom, they're cast in their very first audition. They're cast in a Broadway play. It's pretty crazy. All right, I've been waiting for this for a month. Since the day I found out that McNuggets hasn't seen Major League, which I still didn't believe.
It's insane.
But somehow he made it to the ripe old age of 15 without seeing the movie. So now you've watched it.
I have.
Let's have your review.
1 second. Wouldn't it be hilarious if he had seen Major League 2 Back to the Minors, but he has not seen Major League?
No, that's Major League 3.
Oh,
Mike.
I'm sorry. What if he had seen only that one? And he's just loved it.
And by the way, I like that movie. I know it's terrible, but I still like it.
Yeah.
All
But
of
I
them
still
are
like
awful after the original.
Yes.
That is one of my questions at the end here.
Okay.
And they somehow become more problematic and racially offensive as time goes on.
Yeah, right. They're getting closer and closer to an area in time where
they should be more appropriate.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
never happened.
Sorry,
in
go
that
ahead.
series.
All right, so my overall thoughts.
Yes.
Very enjoyable for a 90-minute movie.
Single, double, triple, or home run?
I said triple. I
Stand-up
thought it
triple?
was very enjoyable.
All right.
The good. I thought it was way funnier than I thought it was going to be. I did not realize it was more of a comedic movie than a sports movie. I thought it was more of a sports movie than comedy.
A lot of good lines from
A lot of great one-liners. A lot of lines that I had heard many, many times before that I didn't know the origin of. So to hear the origin of some of those was very good. Also, some memes. One of Jason Lloyd's favorite memes, I can't say it on air because
They're still...
YouTube. Yeah,
they're still poopy.
Which he uses all the time. No idea that was from Major League.
Yeah.
That's from Major League. We also, peel the curtain back, we're going to shoot a Major League-esque promo for the show, which got scrapped for budget and other reasons. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But now that I know what Major Leagues is, would have been absolutely epic. And maybe if we get a long-standing show and we get more money and all that, we could do that.
Good. I hope so.
I thought Charlie Sheen was awesome.
Great.
Unreal. My main 2 complaints, though, was outside of Charlie Sheen, no one knew how to play baseball in that movie. It is the worst actual baseball footage maybe ever shot in a movie.
Yeah,
Ed Harris, the other pitcher, not Sheen, the other guy.
Yeah.
His wind-up and delivery.
Couldn't he work with a former major leaguer to help with his mechanics?
How about a 9-year-old who's pitching? How about Jason Lloyd's kid? How about any kid you've ever shown throw a pitch? How about watch one baseball game in your life?
Yeah,
how about that?
I know.
It was terrible.
And you know what? It gets worse with time. When I watched it the first time, I think I expected everybody to suck.
Right.
But they've made so many good sports movies where the guys don't suck.
Right.
That now when you rewatch that, you're like, my God,
it's awful.
This is so unrealistic.
Yeah, it's awful.
It was hard to watch, and like I said, my expectation was it was a sports movie, not a comedy.
Right.
And I was like, this dude is throwing the ball 7 miles an hour, lobbing it in. I also loved Willie Mays Hayes. I thought his character was elite.
Yep.
His whole story plot. The one thing I didn't love, and I liked it less in the moment than I do now, was how it just ended with them winning the pennant. Or the East Division. I would like to. I mean, I know not every movie can end with winning the World Series.
Yeah.
Now, That's always been a running joke that even in our fantasy world,
we can't win the World
we can't
Series.
win the World Series.
Come on.
We're just like,
Wait a
all
second,
right,
guys.
somewhat
come
realistic.
on. Where people stand up and leave the theater. It's got. Go ahead.
true.
Sorry, guys. Two things here. Number one, I thought it was good that they didn't win because every movie it always ends up with a happy ending, but in the end, you didn't. So I kind of like that, but maybe it's because I didn't grow up rooting for the Indians. I don't know. And in terms of the players sucking as players, at the time, none of us really. I don't know that I really thought about that.
I
because
didn't
that
think
was
about. I was a
common
kid.
No, I didn't in the moment, but Bull, now
Yeah.
when you watch it, it's a
Yeah.
glaring weakness in the film.
Yes, absolutely.
Charlie Sheen actually was the closest to looking
I
resembling
agree.
a real baby.
Yeah, he pulled it off.
These guys were killing Charlie's delivery. I thought, man, I thought it was actually pretty okay.
He
well,
does-
compared to everybody else, it was good.
yeah.
He openly brags about getting roided up for that, to like be able to pitch like that. He does. He says he took a ton of steroids in order to like get his fastball up, and he said he got it up to about 80. So I don't know, but that's what he's. And
By the way, and I keep interrupting. I apologize. Tim Robbins in Bull Durham was awful too.
Yeah, but you know what? There were other guys in Bull Durham that carried their weight and made it
No
less.
doubt.
Just in the whole major league, really franchise. You just watch these guys. You're like, none of them are even remotely convincing. Even Sheen, who was okay, if he came out and took the mound in a real major league game, you'd be like, oh my. What, forget the glasses and the gimmick, just his delivery. You'd be like, oh, God, this team is scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I feel like maybe I'm talking out of turn, but I thought Serrano swung the bat well.
It
He
was
was
all
all right.
arms. It was just a big lumberjack
Yeah.
swing, you know?
His character
Nobody-
was hysterical, though.
Oh, he's
I liked
great.
his character.
Yeah, he
and
was great.
Polk, once again, things I didn't know what it was from. When you brought in the
Joe Boo.
Joe Boo, yes.
Right.
Which now you could not get away with Joe Boo and
No,
anything. That-
Never.
That's probably
Very wrong.
that's probably why you were so troubled when I brought it out without telling you.
Yeah, I
You were
know
just
it
like,
was.
this is all right. So first of all, it is an amazing movie that stands the test of time. It is problematic, but not like problematic just for the sake of being problematic. Not American Pie, let's push the boundaries. It's just a time capsule of what was appropriate during that time, appropriately delivered, and with good writing and jokes that hold up. But it's not doing it to be offensive. It just happens to have been a different time. So there are those
the way
sorts
we
of
were
things.
then.
Yes, they were.
Like, if you watch All in the Family today, you're like, how did this get through?
Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches, and it is like a realistic. I like the lovable. It totally captures the lovable loser Cleveland mentality. Obviously, great soundtrack, great visuals of the city. Most of it shot in Milwaukee, actually, but especially in the opening scene, you see a lot of Cleveland at a certain time that's very nostalgic for people who were from here at that time.
Not any of which was good.
No.
It was the bad Cleveland. But
Yeah,
I want to. What did you think of Uecker?
I thought it was awesome. That was
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts of the movie, too.
A buddy of mine said,
Just
watch
a bit
that movie
outside.
once and take Bob Uecker out of it, and it's the worst movie ever made. I
don't know about that.
I disagreed with him, but he said Uecker just brought it all
He's
together.
a perfect narrator. He works as like a perfect. He really does. He works as like, if that were a play, he'd be the old man who comes out at the beginning and takes off his hat and just goes, "Well, hello, I didn't see you standing there." Well, I'm going to tell you a story now. Except he's a sports. You know what I mean? With Monty, the worst color man in the business, who just gets
There's a
nervous
guy
and doesn't
around
say
here.
anything.
There's a guy around here who has a Monty the Color Man Twitter. I've met the guy in real life. He's a good dude. He's a huge fan. Have you guys seen that guy on Twitter?
I have not. No.
I have seen it around, yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
I
I've seen
have,
it
but
around.
that's perfect. Anyways, it's perfect. Glad you finally got to see it, Mikey. We hope that you.
Well, here's my question real quick.
Go ahead.
Now I'm curious. I've heard I don't need to watch 2 and 3.
You don't.
No.
you
What
don't.
are the plots? Will you give me just what happens next?
Well, you don't need to watch. That's all you need
And
to
I
know.
won't. And I spent-
Charlie Sheen's head gets big in two, and he becomes Hollywood, and he loses his fastball.
Then there's a bank
They sell
heist.
the team to Corbin Burnson, right?
Yes.
Dorn buys the team. Like,
Yeah.
it's awful.
Spoilers.
Willie Mays Hayes is a different actor. It's not Wesley
Yes.
Snipes. It's Omar Epps in the second movie.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
exactly
Is
right.
it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's,
Snipes
they're
only
just
did the first one.
stealing money from the franchise of movies.
Yeah,
after
the
first
one thing that sucks
Awful.
about Hollywood is when you have a good movie, no matter what the genre is, the horror films come to mind because we just passed Halloween.
Yeah.
But they just serve as bake sales down
Sure.
the road.
Yes.
All the actors.
Franchise.
All the actors get a payday, the director, the producer, the studio, and they put a bunch of trash on film. When have you seen a movie? Oh, I just saw one. so I'll answer my own question with this. I'll open it to you guys. When was the last time you've seen a part 2 that exceeded part 1?
Right. I mean, people say that.
Anybody?
Top Gun. The new Top Gun was
I just
awesome.
saw it on the cruise. I watched it, and
That was phenomenal.
that was the only time. In fact, after it was over, I said, "This might be the first time I've ever watched a part 2 of a series, the sequel of a hit that I thought was actually better than the original."
I agree with Bull. I like Rocky 2. I don't know if it was better than. I think it was good. Like, they didn't do it a disservice. Terminator, I think.
When you
T2
watch it
was
now,
good.
it's better because the effects were better, the fight scenes were better, but
Yeah.
I still think Rocky 1.
Yeah. It's very,
I thought the
very
first
few.
Top Gun was better, even though I liked the second.
Oh,
Top
you did
Gun.
like the first one better.
Yeah.
I still
I
haven't
thought they
seen
were
the
both
second.
excellent.
I got to see it.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely tremendous.
T2, Godfather 2, Alien.
Godfather 2. I've had
and
people say
probably
Godfather
Aliens
2.
too. I think Aliens is better
Oh, wow.
than Alien.
Another
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
I had another one.
The Hangover was such a great movie that I was hopeful that they would get creative and sort of find new ways to make us laugh, but
Yeah.
they just kind of fell into the same old trap.
You know,
just in a different place.
I liked the Die Hard series. I thought that those were. I didn't think that those were terrible. I thought
Yeah,
that
those
No, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. But yeah, Major
it's
League's
very
terrible. Corbin Burnson will make another one if we call him right now. That's the problem.
I think
He'll hang
everybody
on.
that was
he's
in that
hanging on to
movie
that
that's still
franchise
alive
like
will.
grim
Make
death.
another one.
You know what I mean? He wants. He's just like, what if
You want to do another one?
we go to the moon? That's what he's doing right now.
I'm glad you finally watched it. Now you're officially a Cleveland.
I feel like I understand you guys as a city a lot better.
So you never understood the 99 jerseys then
No.
before? You
Well,
just-
I had seen bits and pieces of Major League, just not in totality. So I knew Charlie Sheen was Wild Thing. And when
Yeah.
he came in, by the way, another great scene, his entrance at the end when everyone in the crowd, I thought it was pretty good. Like, it was a genuinely enjoyable movie and a good way to spend a Tuesday night last week.
It's too bad that he went off the deep end because he was so funny and his timing was so good. Charlie
was
Sheen,
very good.
Just like his timing on lines like this, where they're at the fancy restaurant, he's got the sleeves cut off, he's got a tie on, he just goes, "Look like a banker in this." And his time, just the delivery
Yeah.
is so good. It's just too bad.
now he's just.
Come back to us, Charlie.
Remember the winning? Remember that, Charlie?
Tiger
Sheen?
Blood.
Winning.
He wouldn't stay away from here during the World Series, 2016 World Series. He was just back here. There's just pictures of my friends just hammered with him at bars. Charlie Sheen
I have a few
hanging
behind-the-scenes stories about that.
Yeah.
He basically just wanted nothing but red carpet freebies.
Yeah.
He actually reached out to people like, hey, he had his people do it. Charlie
course.
would like to come in for the World Series and like to hang out in your box. Is that possible? And consumed large
Right.
amounts of liquor and food and was a total douche.
Right.
And left
What a
everybody
thrill.
saying, wow, I wish I'd never met him.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
Wow.
Douche.
All right, well, we have Jenn Matthews in now to do
All
some
right, there she
trivia.
is.
It's been quite the hiatus for Jen, unable to join us 2 weeks ago, but back and better than ever. Jen, what's up?
I'm just living the dream. I'm here in Seattle. And Mike, okay, I'm glad you saw, I'm glad you saw that movie, but if you're a real Cleveland fan, have you seen Masters of the Gridiron?
Exactly.
Her dad's in it.
I keep telling him.
Well,
Jen, I keep telling him.
snubbed by the Academy. I mean, you guys, it's so bad. It is.
It's true.
It's
We're going to do a
so
viewing
bad,
party.
but it's good.
It's my fault, Jen. I haven't sat him down to show him that masterpiece yet. I will, I assure
Well,
you.
here's the problem, though, with that movie. It never made it to DVD. Not only did it never make it to, like, the big theaters, it was just a VHS only, right? So I don't even know if you have a VHS machine anymore.
Polk probably
Well,
does.
Of course I
we
do.
have to take our. Well, you do?
Of course
You
I
have a
do. I'm a very strange person, Jen.
His car has an 8-track player in it.
Yeah, I'm very idiosyncratic. But I will make sure to show him that, and he's going to see that. And I think we should do it. I personally have been begging to do a screening of that as as a show.
I'd be down for that.
Wouldn't
Because
that
I've
be
never
fun?
seen it
Overtime
either,
content,
Jen, and I
baby.
apologize for that.
yeah.
Overtime
I
content.
think we
Sure.
should have like a red carpet and do it. Let's do the whole thing.
Let's
You know,
bring
oddly,
Dad
they-
back. Will Dad come to Cleveland for that?
You know what? For that, I think he might. Because
Wow.
It was
So we have a
such-
UCSS screening party of the movie.
Everyone wears
and
tuxes.
Clay comes back and
Clay
meet and
Rock.
greet with our fans.
Clay Rock was his character name.
Clay Rock.
yes, but, did Clay doesn't. he's a more casual guy. Can we make it like jeans and T-shirts?
Sure.
I don't know. He doesn't really do
Hell, let's go
tuxes.
with jorts and tank tops.
Absolutely.
I'm in. Never felt more at home.
Ugh, that's a harder sell. Okay. Anyways, I digress.
All right,
But
so
I'm
we're playing the
happy, guys.
Dolphins.
I know. We beat up on the Bengals. We had a nice little time to rest. We're trying to get our guys healthy, and now we go into a tough little run against the AFC East. How are you guys feeling about it?
Yeah. So you've got questions for us, Browns, Dolphins, history related. Am I right?
You bet. And I want to know, who do we think is going to win on this panel? I don't know. I'm going to...
No, we answered
No,
together.
they answer
We
together,
all
Jen.
put our heads together and we
I
answered
know.
together.
I know that, but I'm still there. Usually there's a ringleader, but okay, let's do it. Let's ask you as a panel.
Okay.
And
My money's on Jason. It's always the
smart guys
yeah,
that
it's the
remember.
smart, silent
If
ones.
G. Bush was here, I would like our chances much more because G. Bush watches every single Browns game that's ever been played and posted on YouTube at least 10 times. Mm-hmm. He'll talk about like 3rd and 7 misses
It's a sickness.
from a 1994
Yeah,
game.
I have no recollection of anything between the Browns and Dolphins ever.
I don't either.
I'm going to be
I
useless.
think Dan
in this,
Marino
but
smoked us a couple times, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
All right, Jen, you ready?
Blew out his Achilles against the Browns.
I'm ready.
He did. I do
I'm
remember
ready.
that.
Yeah.
Question number 1, Steve.
Right.
Let's take it.
Okay, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What is the Browns' all-time playoff record against the Dolphins?
Wow. So I would imagine in that 72 season when they were perfect, the Browns weren't very good that year.
The only one I remember is the
80s, and we won.
I
It was a
believe
wild
so.
card game.
Yeah. That's the only one I remember.
Okay, so let's go with 1-0.
1-0.
I think it's.
Mike?
I think we played them twice, and I think we lost to them once.
So you want to go even, Steven?
When did the Dolphins enter the league? Like, I don't even.
Well, it had to be in the
well
early
after we did.
late 60s,
Late
early
60s,
70s.
early 70s.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, what's
are we
your
saying-
final
what
answer?
are we going to lock in on?
Are we saying?
Want to go?
I
1-0?
remember one. If you remember a second one, then let's say 1-1.
I think they played them at least twice in the playoffs, and I think they lost.
Okay.
one.
You're gonna
Well,
go
I think they
1-1.
lost
Yeah,
We're
but
gonna go
only
1-1.
because we want to be inclusive here. Jason and I believe it's 1-0, but Mike says hold the phone. I remember 2 games, so let's go with 1-1.
All right, 1-1. That's your final answer. All right,
Yep.
Mike, let's bring up the answer.
Let's take it.
Oh, you were right, Mike.
And you guys are right about both years. It was 72 and 86, but that 86 game they lost 21-24.
And you were
Yeah,
right
you know
about
what?
2 games.
I remember that now.
Oh well, you
Okay.
stumped
All
us,
right,
Jen.
that's okay. All right,
You
you guys are
trickster.
gonna get it. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this one. All right, do it, Mike. All right. What is the Browns' record against the Dolphins since
something.
returning to Cleveland in 1999?
Now we do have 1 win, at least.
I literally have no idea on this. I can't even make a guess.
They've
And this
probably played
haunting
them-
Halloween music is really getting to me.
Yeah, it sounds like someone's going to jump out of the shower and stab us to death.
They've probably played them what, like 4 times?
They
Well-
played 8 times. I'm gonna give you.
Eight?
Yeah.
They
Oh, it's
played
more than
8
I thought.
times.
Yeah, because
Since
since
99.
99, so it's 23 seasons every 4 years.
So we just have to decide whether it's 1-7 or 2-6, guys, and then just call it a day. I mean, really, we didn't win a lot,
Yeah, you're right. I would say
but
2 and 6.
probably 1 or 2.
I would go with 2 and 6.
You want to go 2 and 6?
Okay.
2 and 6.
Yeah.
All
Lock
right,
it in.
2 and 6 is your final answer. It's
gonna be 1 and 7, isn't
answer is
Mikey's shaking his head.
5
5-3!
and 3. You know what? The negativity on that end and the lack of points that are Brownies.
What do you expect?
Honest question: is that the only team the Browns have a winning
That
record
really might
against?
be. That's a very good question.
I'm gonna look that up, Jen. While you do this, I'm gonna look that up.
I'll bet it is.
Yeah, hold on.
Well, we know it's no one in the division.
Yeah. Okay.
You guys said
Atlanta.
it was either.
I think they've got a winning record against Atlanta. For some stupid
Jen, are you
reason.
hurt by our negativity?
It crushes me to the core.
I'm sorry.
Although I did say this the other day, I told my dad, I said, rooting for the Browns is like dating that guy that's a jerk, and you always feel like he's going to change, and then you just keep getting your heart broken, but you're still
Yeah.
like, no,
We said that
he's gonna be
earlier.
better.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
exactly.
toxic relationship.
Yeah, and we just keep getting pulled back in.
I've both dated and been that person.
So you know it from both
I know it
ends.
from both sides.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. Got
All
it.
right, so what's number 3? We better get one of them right at least.
All right. You guys ready for number 3? Who is the Dolphins' all-time leading rusher?
Well, I think it was Larry Zonka. And I think it's been passed
good call.
recently.
I was going to say Mercury Morris, but I think you're right. It would be Zonka.
Larry Zonka had a sick career.
But who would it be
But
recently?
Guys ready?
Ricky Williams
wouldn't have surpassed.
He wasn't there long
I'm going
enough.
to go with Zonka. But if you guys have a better option, let's go
I'm fine with that.
But Larry Zonka was a beast.
Yeah.
And
Let's
so
lock,
was
in.
Mercury Morris.
Let's lock in with Zonka.
Let's lock in with Zonk.
All right.
Let's take a look.
All right. The answer
Yeah, there we go.
is
Attaboy, Jay.
On the board.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
on the board.
Well,
You
when
guys
they
were
had Marino,
redeeming
they
yourselves
didn't
after
know
some
that there were
negativity on
that you could
last
run.
question.
They didn't know that that was
Exactly.
legal.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got
All right,
one.
you guys ready? You're on a 1-0 run. I feel some momentum. All right. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel spent 1 season on the Browns coaching staff. Which former Browns head coach did McDaniel coach under?
You'll get this, Jay.
No, I won't.
That's got
Oh, I
Jay
thought you had
all
this.
over.
a lot to pick from.
Yeah, a whole lot to pick from. So he's a young dude. We know that.
I would say
I'm gonna say Hugh Jackson.
I was gonna say Pettin, but that might be going back too far.
I don't think it matters, guys. Just pick Pettin's fine. Pettin's
You want to go
fine.
with Patton?
Yeah, he was here a couple years, right?
All right, let's go with
You wanna
Patton.
go with Pettin?
Yeah, let's
All
go
right.
with Pettin.
Your answer is Pettin. Let's bring up the answer.
Yeah! There we go. We're making a run at 500.
Totally busted
two
clock
and two.
right twice a day.
Nice.
Like, Daniel looks like he would be a CPA. Every time I see him doing a conference, like a press conference after the game, I'm like, he's so
I know.
nice.
Yeah,
The
I
look
really
of
like
it.
him. I like him as a head
I
coach
do
a
too.
lot.
You know
Yep.
why? Because he gives some real answers. You get
Yep.
like the company line all the time, and here he is, like, doesn't look like the typical NFL coach, and
Yeah.
just keeps it like it is. I like
I'm
it.
with you
All
100%. I like him. I just hope I don't
Yeah.
like him on Sunday.
Well, of course, this Sunday we can beat him. But
So this is
anyways. All
is
right,
this
you
the
guys
last
are on
one?
a
There's
2-0
5.
roll.
So this is
Yep.
either to be over or under 500.
This is it, you
All right.
guys.
You guys are 2-2. This is for the win, and I believe in you guys. All right. Stephen Ross is the majority owner of the Dolphins. Can you name 3 celebrity minority owners
Is
of
Pitbull-
the Dolphins?
That's a good guess.
A minority owner. I know he's involved.
Let's
in
do it.
Auto racing. And the Latina dancer. What's her name?
Gloria Estefan
Gloria Estefan. Or
and the
she's just a
Miami
fan.
Sound Machine.
Yeah, the Sound Machine is not a
The
minority owner.
sound, but the Miami Sound Machine is not a minority owner.
Yeah.
You're right.
So let's think Miami celebrities.
Flo Rida.
Definitely Flo Rida.
You
The
guys
Rock?
have named one correct answer so far.
We have.
Yeah.
Is it Pitbull?
Yes.
I'm not gonna tell you which one
you're
it
not
is.
gonna tell us.
There's one correct answer.
I don't know why Pitbull and Gloria Estefan come to mind for me. So I think Gloria Estefan is a minority owner.
Okay.
I
Right,
don't
we
know
need
about
3.
Pitbull, but I'm
fine
pretty
with-
sure that Gloria
3's
Estefan-
insane. Like,
That's a lot.
Even 1 would be.
Yeah, one would be
Impressive.
great. Well, we've got one. Now we just need to get 2 more.
We think we've
So,
got one.
Yeah, I think it is.
All right.
Stefan.
I think we should count.
Pitbull owns a auto racing team, NASCAR team.
I've got to say, your knowledge of pop culture is very admirable, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I know some young kids. They keep me up to date. Miami celebrities.
Yeah, I don't know. Don Johnson is not.
Crockett and Tubbs.
Crockett and
I
Tubbs.
haven't heard that Don Johnson is an owner. I would think maybe we need to. Ricky Martin?
Well, that's
No,
a good guess.
definitely not Ricky Martin.
What about The Rock? He runs the XFL now, right?
Yeah, I don't think he could have ownership in an NFL team.
I'll give
Marco
you guys
Rubio?
one hint.
One hint?
I'll give you one hint.
Okay.
You do have one. There are at least 4 remaining that have been listed to me. 2 are athletes, 2 are musicians. So you can
2 are
eliminate everyone else
athletes
who's
and
not
2
an
are
athlete or musician.
musicians. So probably Dan Marino,
Let's go
that's-
with Marino. He could
yeah,
have
yeah.
ownership.
maybe.
Yeah.
Although you never see him, though, at games.
You got 20 seconds.
Okay, say Marino, Gloria
Non-football
Estefan.
athletes.
Non-football athletes.
Non-football.
Oh, then Marino's out then.
Yeah.
Marino's not right, so yeah.
Okay.
You got 10 seconds.
What
to
about
eliminate.
LeBron or D Wade?
Dwayne Wade, maybe.
Let's
Oh,
go.
Dwayne's not a bad call.
Let's go D Wade as number 2. And
5.
musician. Who's the trumpet player? Isn't there a
Timmy Trumpets.
huh? No, not Timmy.
Timmy
I love
Trumpets.
Timmy Trumpets though.
And
All right, we're
we
out.
failed.
This
got
this
nothing.
music is
All
creeping
right.
me out.
All right, let's take it, Steve.
we
Let's
got?
just show 'em.
Reveal it.
I didn't pick the music, okay? All right, here we
Mark
go.
Anthony.
Mark Anthony.
Oh, that swarthy son of a gun.
Williams, Fergie,
Fergie.
and the Estefans.
The
Wow.
Yes, the sound machine is not in there. It's just Emilio and Gloria.
Oh,
But
all
I
right.
was impressed that you call up the sound machine.
Yeah, that
Are you
was good.
surprised by those minority owners?
That is
No idea.
impressive.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
know
had
No
that.
idea. I
Pretty
had no
good
idea.
list.
That was.
That's probably why they stink so bad.
Yeah. All we have is Usher for the Cavs. That's all we have.
Yeah,
Is
that's
he a
it.
minority owner of the Cavs?
He is.
Yes.
I don't think he is anymore.
I think he still has his chunk.
I thought he
Does
still
he?
kept it.
Do you remember this? I know this. You'll flash back when I do this. Do you remember this? That was Usher's thing.
Oh, yeah.
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 These are 2 C's,
Yeah.
you guys.
Oh, wow.
These are 2 C's. Usher would stand up at half court
When he had
down
his
on the
front row
floor.
seats?
Yep.
Yep.
And the whole place would go nuts and do that.
Yep. That
Different
was
times, the
remember
mid
that.
2000s.
Dan's first. That was when Dan first bought the team. He
Yeah.
was around and hanging out. And brought the cool factor.
Are we dating ourselves, guys?
Oh
we-
yeah,
we-
constantly.
Hell, I do that every
In
day on the
everything we
show.
do. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. We should just own it at this point.
Yeah, I guess you're
Like,
right.
yeah, we
Jen, thank
remember
you.
what
I wish we could have done
happened in
better.
1991.
2-3 is
You know what? You guys are, that's okay.
it's
you know
kind of
what,
a
though?
Browns-esque performance. We're under 500 trying to improve.
We always have a good time losing to you, though.
And you know what? I gotta be this voice of positivity for the Browns. You know what? I'm gonna go with we're gonna shock the world, as they say, and we're gonna beat the Dolphins.
I like that. I think
what
it
I
is
like to hear.
possible.
Go with it,
Hey, look, if we get the team that beat Cincinnati to show up again,
Yep.
I think you're right.
right?
But that's,
Yeah,
that was home.
right,
It was
right.
a Monday night Halloween crowd, and Myles Garrett seemed like he
I
was
loved
very
it. I
interested
loved
in winning.
every second of that game. And
So did
also,
I.
I think we really need to talk about this Masters of the Gridiron event, red carpet.
Let's
shorts.
work on that. Yeah, let's work on that. That could be fun.
I mean, let's bring all the old guys back. We'll tell fun stories about when we won and
That would
about
be-
how bad the acting was in that.
That would be great. I know we could get Bernie to participate. I think we could get Dad if Big Clay comes in.
Heck yeah.
That could draw a
Clay?
crowd.
Yep.
We could sell tickets and everything. It'd be a real
Big
event.
Clay's a good time. All right, guys.
Jen,
Well, I
thank
will
you. We'll see you in 2
couple
weeks.
Bye, Jen. Thanks.
right.
Go Browns.
Thank you very much, Jenn Matthews, with the Browns Dolphins trivia, which that was tough.
It was.
That was really
Those
hard.
were
They're
not.
always
Well,
tough. Yeah,
it's not
she
like
doesn't give you curveballs.
we don't have like a rich history that we draw from in our minds
In our
about the
lifetime.
Miami
No, it goes back to before
Browns. Like history,
Right.
there's not like some romantic past that we all were just
You're
like,
right.
oh, remember that Miami game in 2006?
Yeah, we don't have that with many teams.
No.
But our divisional teams we do.
All right, guys, we got to do what the internet is saying. Then we're going to do some final takes. Bull's actually going to come back for a final take, so we're going to let him go first with that. But first, it's what the internet is saying. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits and hopefully a better jump shot than Jay and Jason, who just bricked one off the backboard of the wall. I think upstairs heard that one. That was so bad, Jay. Clearly vacation arm. We actually got to set up a camera in the corner, in that corner,
Yeah.
Steve, so they can see how bad those shots
This
are. That
is
was
the closest I've ever
abysmal.
sat, and I still missed.
And Jason still missed, yeah. PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wycliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn
hiring.
more. We started talking about which sequels. Yeah, you can see
That's
the two
mine.
bottles.
Brutal.
Mine's
Ricocheted
the water
off there.
bottle.
Just
This is the
brutal.
Gatorade.
Both horrible. Mine's the Gatorade under the chair there.
We asked the internet while we were talking, what is some of the best sequels out there? Is anyone better than the first? A lot of them mentioned the same ones we mentioned, but some ones we hadn't talked about. Jay Scooby, 1976, says The Empire Strikes Back.
Good point. Good
II
catch.
says Terminator 2. Fry says Indiana Jones 3 was the best.
Ooh.
And Bill says Star Trek 2 saved the movie franchise after Star Trek 1. So a lot of the same answers that we went
I should have
through,
caught
those were some
Empire.
extras.
Good call.
And with that, it is time for final takes. And Bull, you're up first.
If you'd been in a coma for the right, if you'd been in a coma. If you'd been in a coma for the last 15 months and you woke up this week and I said to you, Baker Mayfield is benched for an XFL quarterback in Carolina and Kevin Love is beloved in Cleveland and part of an amazing team that everybody loves. It's hard to believe the career paths in the last 15 months of those two big-time Cleveland athletes. 15 months ago, Baker was the talk of the town. We were thinking about a new contract. They had gone to the playoffs for the first time in forever. They had won a playoff game in the first time in forever. And Kevin Love was a pariah. Everybody wanted him out of town. Most of us would have agreed to give him away, literally just give him away just to get him out. Now, again, Baker came in garbage time this weekend and still couldn't get his starting job back, even though he played well in garbage time. And Kevin Love, if anybody proposed any trade involving Kevin Love right now, even if that trade made sense for the Cavs, every single fan in Cleveland would be against it. It's irrelevant who was coming back to the Cavs. It's remarkable how quickly things change in sports, but that's what's happened for those two guys.
Very good.
Excuse me for asking this, I should know, but is Baker still the backup quarterback in Carolina?
They said P.J. Walker's
Yes.
going to start on the short week. They didn't want to make this change.
What happened over the weekend? Because people were texting me stuff that I didn't understand.
The Bengals absolutely mollywopped the Panthers.
I was watching
Walker
the
looked terrible.
Yeah,
So
but what did
P.J.
Baker
Walker
do? People were texting me like Baker has his job back. That's not true?
Well, he came in the second half and he played well. I think he led them to 3 touchdowns. But by the time he came in, he scored the first touchdown down 35-0, and then he scored the other 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter when they were already down 42-7.
So he's still the backup, even though he came in and had success?
They said if it was a full week, they may reevaluate, but they didn't want to evaluate. They play Thursday against Atlanta.
Yeah.
So.
Short week. You know what's weird about that division is nobody's out of it.
And it's
Not even the Panthers are
terrible.
out.
Yeah.
They're all under 500.
Yeah, no, are the Bucks under 500 too?
Yeah, they're
4-5.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's a great division.
Man.
All right, Jason, you're up.
Jay?
Chris Antonetti was named Executive of the Year today for Major League Baseball as voted on by his peers. It's the first time he's won. They just started doing this award in 2018. And really, it's a Lifetime Achievement Award for him as far as I'm concerned because he won the award despite the Guardians not making any moves. Like, they didn't make – normally the Executive of the Year goes the guy who had the best offseason, brought in the big free agent or whatever, made the big trade. The Guardians tried. They pursued Matt Olson. They pursued Sean Murphy at the trade deadline and some other things. And ultimately they said, we're going to roll with what we have. He certainly earned it. Obviously, the Guardians were the surprise of anyone. Hopefully, Tito Francona follows it up with the Manager of the Year award. But it's really a testament to the development of the entire organization, and this farm system is why he won the award, not because of 1 or 2 key moves that they made last offseason. Obviously, he's worthy of it, thrilled he won it, and it's just funny to me that he won it despite not having a big move. And Cleveland could have 2, because Kobe Altman is also going to be in the running this year for Executive of the Year based on, again, the big move, the Donovan Mitchell trade. And it's also a bit of a Lifetime Achievement Award for him based on the trade for Jared Allen, the drafting of Darius Garland, and everything else. So Cleveland, certainly we've talked about it at length on this show. All 3 teams could be good at the same time. And now you're starting to see the fruits of that labor with Chris Antonetti winning Executive of the Year in baseball. Kobe Altman could be up next in the NBA.
Nice.
We all recall the heavy fish scandal from a few weeks back that rocked the fishing world. Well, I'm afraid I have some more bad news, folks, because we have another scandal afoot. It's called #Baggate, and it refers to the National Cornhole Tournament. That's right, everybody. The incident happened at the doubles competition in the American Cornhole League World Championship in South Carolina, the first state to leave the Union and start the Confederacy. It started out when Devin Harbaugh made a complaint against one of the guys he was playing. He said he thought the bags were too thin. ACL regulations required them to be 6 by 6 inches when laying flat on a surface and weigh 16 ounces. Officials followed the procedure and inspected the bags. Turns out the suspicions were correct. The bags failed to meet the requirements of the league.
Wow.
It gets worse. The other team then asked them to inspect the other team's cornhole bags, and those ones were also not regulation. So apparently this is just a rampant problem through the entire sport right now. And it just gets you, and by the way, they ended up playing out that, they just said, just go ahead and play anyway, since you're both illegal, and since this doesn't matter because it's cornhole, I guess. And so they just let him play it out, which tells you how dire that was. But what's going on with these offbeat competitions and people feeling the need to cheat in order to win? We've got weighted fish. We've got skinny cornhole bags. What's next? Are we going to find out that Joey Chestnut was using a false stomach at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest? A Botox scandal at the Purina National Dog Show? A GPS tagging scandal at the National Hide and Seek Championships? Or a greased balls scandal at the National Bocce Championships? Enough is enough, people. All right? These are children's games and weird stuff you're supposed to do on the weekends. Stop trying to cheat at nonsense. If you're going to do it for something more than something that's actually worthwhile. For example, there was a cheating scandal that I found absolutely fascinating almost 50 years ago, actually, right here in Akron. And it was they had a soapbox racer that got busted. Do you remember that?
I absolutely. I don't remember it, but I've heard of it.
The guy implanted an electromagnet in the nose of his soapbox racer.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
And then when he pressed his head back on the headrest, wiring connected to the magnet gave him a little boost when he was leaving the steering gate. What I'm saying is we've cheated at dumb little things for a very long time. It's very important to people to be the best at what they do, no matter how silly or ridiculous the best thing that you're doing is. So it's nothing new, and we're not like becoming worse as a society. It's just that it's more exposed now because we have the internet. The end.
The Astros trash can gate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys followed the lottery numbers, but last night they were supposed to select numbers for a $1.9 billion
With a B.
billion dollar payoff. The pulling of the numbers was delayed because of a security breach.
Not a great look.
Whenever there's money involved, and I'm guessing that the Cornhole Championships there's payday, even if it's like a lifetime supply of Dr. Pepper or whatever it is. Whenever there is a prize, there will be corruption.
Yep.
You can bank on it.
At the fishing one, it was lifetime supply of wraparound sunglasses. That's what was on the line. So you can see why they wanted to.
Who doesn't want those?
Obviously.
All right, I'll be quick. I touched on it earlier. Mine's about the
boom.
There it is. Mike brought that trophy in.
You won that.
So mine is about the diehard Cleveland sports fans, and I got to realize again when I was on my cruise just how different we are from every other fan base. No, I haven't lived in all of the professional sports cities, but I've visited all of them. I've been to games in all of those cities. I've had a chance to observe now for a half century the fans that make up New York. By the way, if I was Aaron Judge, I would not come back and play for the team that booed me relentlessly throughout the entire playoffs. That's the New York fan base. Front-running, demanding, entitled. Boston for years was, can we just please win one? Now they've won like 100. So they now have become entitled. I watched Philly both root their football Eagles to a win and watch their fans suffer a disappointing Game 6 loss in the World Series. They are close to what we are. They're angry at times. They're jubilant at times. They're demanding. They're knowledgeable. But more than anything, Cleveland sports fans are loyal. I don't know if it was Jason or Mike. One of them said that it's like a toxic relationship. I think we touched on that. That is the best way to describe the relationship between Cleveland sports teams and their fan base. It is a toxic relationship. We've been abused time and time and time again. But even if we make the decision to call the police, we never press charges. We never raise it to that level. Why? Because at the end of it, there's love. All we know for our team is love. Despite the fact that we can hate them in moments and question them in moments and be furious at them in moments, the overwhelming emotion between Cleveland sports fans and our team and our teams, it's love. And you can't undo it. It's forever love. And I'm okay with that. We'll take the good with the bad, and there's been way more bad than good. But when it's good, the way I felt Monday night, watching that football team that I love so dearly dominate the team that went to the Super Bowl last year for the AFC, reminded me that I just can't raise it to the level of calling the police. I can't unroot for these teams. And that's what makes Cleveland sports fans so special. We love them.
Very true.
We love hard, man.
Hard to be sad when you're looking at sad Cincinnati fans. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Warms the cockles in my heart looking at sad
I love
Cincinnati
it. Whenever we beat one of our rivals and the network televising the game doesn't give me enough
with the crowd.
Sadness from the other team, I get so angry.
Somebody with his arms crossed.
I want to see Steelers fans with their face in their hands.
Some guy with his arms crossed,
Yeah.
with like his wife, who's like, it's gonna be a long night. He's in a terrible mood.
My favorite shot of all is the Michigan fan after the Michigan State block punt, and this guy.
Historic.
Can't get enough of it.
Yep.
Can't get enough of it. We are the best fans in the world, and I was reminded of that again when I was around fans of all the other sports teams. We're out of time. We're taking a 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow. Is Bull back in studio tomorrow? Or is he going to stay?
No, he's gonna till he's good.
Okay. Till he's good. And anything else you want to tease for tomorr's program?
Coach Tyvis, Tim Couch, Robert Smith, and Dave Richard. Big show tomorrow.
That's a full
Big
show. All right, we'll see you again then. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get out and vote. Today is election day. You can't complain if you don't exercise your right to vote. See you.